I was saying you're absolutely right on this, and I'm getting invited to co-host. Yeah, I can jump on there. Do you guys want to save that co-host spot for somebody else more important, or they can help manage the space?
Yeah, you know what? We'll have somebody manage because I know you're driving, so you probably can do a lot of that going on. Adam, do you want to throw?
Yeah.
You want to grab the co-host spot, Adam, or give it to Jen? Welcome, everybody. We started a little bit early just so that we could get everything lined up and ready to go.
Hey, Kim. Hey, Ryan. How's it going? Yeah, I just threw Ryan, the co-host, just to highlight his, since he's the guest speaker, and I could manage from the American Mission account.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That's why I kind of threw him the co-host just to highlight because, he's a guest speaker here. Up to you. I thought that's what we're going for.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Yeah, no problem. I'll be home in a minute.
Awesome.
Great. Perfect.
I'll be home done driving in a minute. So.
All right. So welcome, everybody. Please repost the space down in the bottom right-hand corner. Click on the little bubble and then click on the arrows going around in a square. If you have joined the American Mission community, you can join that. And then you can post inside the bubble and make comments. And you can learn all kinds of cool stuff about American Mission. Right, Adam?
Yes, ma'am. You can definitely learn a lot.
Why don't you guys start off by telling us telling us about America's Mission?
Well, so what we are is we basically are trying to bring awareness, educate people, get people active in the political sphere, bring forth issues like the ones that you're battling with. And, we're a community that is trying to get people involved and make it fun and make it interesting and, really just stick to getting all of these challenges solved. I mean, we just have so many freaking problems, in our government right now. We highlight candidates and try to get people involved with, precinct strategy, get them involved in their local parties, because that's really where we're going to make the changes. So that's what we've been doing. And, we our founders, Jen and Dustin, were a big part of We Built the Wall. They've got a great story of all of the trickery and manipulation and awfulness that our government did to them. And so we came together and just decided, hey, we're going to start shedding light on things and try to get things resolved.
One of the things definitely is the local, involvement, helping people, giving them guidance to get locally involved, precinct strategy, precinct committeemen, chairs, school boards, all sorts of things, and help promote them if they're America first and hold America first sort of values and morals and traditions sort of thing. Definitely a lot of we track bills as well, so we're doing bill tracking, and anything that comes up, we're gonna that's egregious, we're gonna put a call to action and mobilize people, have people call their senators or congressmen, and they get berated on the phones because of us, definitely big time. One thing I did want to
go ahead, Ryan. Hey. Just want to let you guys know this space, like, nobody can put comments in it. So, like, we can't share things and pin them to the nest.
I was going to get right to that, Ryan. This is a community space. It's basically the way Twitter is, or X, is trending, is things are going to be really, like, the community is an antenna for your hub, and it'll amplify your reach and, get the message out to more people. To be able to comment, which is kind of good, so we don't get any poo-poo porn or anything of the sort in the bubble or the text. You got to join the American Mission community, and I'll be approving people during the space. So if you look at the top space where it says recording, next to it, you'll see the American Mission TM icon with the community logo in it. It's a little rectangle. Click on that. That'll take you to the community page and request to join. And then once you join the community, you'll be able to comment in the little bubble, the little purple pill. So,
does it auto approve, or do you guys have to approve that?
I screen people personally, make ssure we don't get any bots in here or anything of the sort. So that helps filter out the nonsense that people post in spaces, and will allow better communication and better relay of message. So yeah, I'll approve everybody that's requesting now. That'll be my job.
All right. We also are into streaming to other platforms. We like to make sure that, you know, we're getting other audiences. So we are streaming to Rumble and Pill.net, Kick.com, QUX, YouTube, and then of course X Live. So we want to welcome everyone who is listening in there. And yeah, you know, this community thing is something new that we're trying. It's been interesting to see how you definitely get different audiences. I mean, you still get your community members, but you also it tends to get you outside of the silos that we seem to be put in nowadays. So we're trying it out. You know, X Spaces within the community is like, I think it's like 2 or 3 weeks old. So give it a shot. And we're going to be putting stuff up in the nest here in a minute. And like Adam said, if you want to make comments, you can just go and join the community. It's really easy to do. What'd you say, Adam? You just click on American Mission. Uh-oh. You're on mute, Adam.
Well, are you talking about how to get to the community?
Yes. Please.
Yeah, because American Mission, since we have the store, we can't highlight the community. So if you go to Kim, Mike, the Kelly J, well, actually just Kelly J, and I think Adam, we have the community highlighted on our profile. So we could go there and get to it, or you can go to communities and search for American Mission Community. That's me. And we are streaming tonight to YouTube, trying it. Let's see what happens.
The best thing, Kelly, is up at the top of the space. It says American Mission TM next to the recording. You could click on that. That takes you right to the community. Easiest way while you're in the space.
Oh, but she had started mentioning American Mission like profile, but yeah, up there too. Correct. But anyway, we are streaming to YouTube, X Live, Rumble, Pilled, and Kick, and QUX TV tonight.
Oh yeah, and just you know, little news alert. We did hit 2,000 now officially in our community. So keep joining, people. We got you.
All right. I think that we can start. We got a couple more people that should be piling in here in the next 10 minutes or so. But Ryan, if you want to kind of just go through a little bit of what you've been doing and what's going on in the crazy world you're living in. I think.
Say, can you say that again? Sorry, my son's talking.
I was just going to say, I said, we're going to go ahead and get started here in a minute, and you can just give us a little bit of background and some updates on what's going on in your crazy world.
Yes. Where do you want me to start? You want to start with where I just got back from El Salvador, or do you want me to start from the very beginning?
I mean, I think that let's do a little bit of historical and then go from there.
Okay, so my name is Ryan Matta. I just want to tell everybody I'm greatly appreciated for everything that you guys are doing here at Americans Mission and all the support that you guys continue to show and the work that you're doing to help bring attention and awareness to this, what I think is going to go down in history as one of the most egregious crimes in world history outside of, or since Nazi Germany. This started about 2 years ago when a gentleman named Carlos Arellano was in a Twitter space with me and Kyle Seraphin, and he reached out to Kyle and asked to come on his podcast for an interview. And Kyle brought him on, and he interviewed Carlos for about an hour. And I heard this story about these, how do I say it? I heard this story that our government was running the largest child trafficking network that the world has ever seen. Did you get it fixed? Okay. The largest child trafficking network that the world has ever seen. And that he could take me to these facilities. So during the interview he was on the interview with Kyle. The story sounds so crazy when somebody tells you that your government is trafficking children, and they know that they're knowingly trafficking children, and they're not trying to hide it, or they're not trying to help the children. They're trying to basically expedite the process. So after he interviewed Kyle interviewed him for an hour. I ended up bringing him on my podcast for like 3 hours. And then at the end of it, he told me that I could come down to Texas and he would show me firsthand. So I was on a flight. I think it was on Wednesday. I think I was on the next flight on Monday and went down there for 4 days. And within 15 minutes of landing at that airport in Brownsville, Texas, I was able to go visit 5 of these facilities. One was a Walmart that held 2,000 boys between the ages of 13 and 17. Another one was another building that held girls between the ages of 0 and 12. That facility held 600. Then he took me to another one that held girls ages 13 to 17. There was 400 there. We went to another one that held boys ages 0 to 12. There was 200 there. And then we went to another one, which was a smaller facility, which held boys and girls between the ages of 13 and 17. And I believe there was 100 at that facility. So they have these, I call them child migrant concentration camps that are located all across America. I believe there's 290 facilities that contract directly through ORR, which is the Office of Refugee Resettlement. And what our government has done with these NGOs is they've established a public-private partnership to turn America into the child trafficking capital of the world. And this operation starts with, we have 180 different countries right now where children are basically being trafficked into Mexico from. Once they enter Mexico, they are then turned over to the cartels, and the cartels then traffic them through Mexico to America. Now, this is where the cartels have realized that in a normal child trafficking operation, your cartels will never actually bring the merchandise across the border. They use what are called mules, and the mules will bring the merchandise across the border, if that makes sense. Because the cartel member is not going to take the risk of getting busted taking a child across the border. That's the second most dangerous part of this operation. So when we're talking about human and child trafficking, there are 2 really dangerous parts of the journey for the child trafficker. And the first most dangerous part is delivering the child to a buyer in America, or delivering the merchandise to a buyer in America. And the second most dangerous is taking the child across the border. So in a normal operation, you have the third world countries where the children are getting taken from. Then you have a recruiter who normally negotiates with that family, and they use like different ruses, like the nanny ruse, where they'll try to pretend to be an elite nannying service, and they convince the family like, hey, your daughter, their salary is, $1 a day. Well, she can come to America and she can make $50 or $100 a day. She's going to have this great job. She's going to live with this really nice, millionaire family, and they're going to take care of her, and they're going to pay for her school, and whatever they have to do to convince the family that it's a good idea to let their child go, they do it. And then that is what there's the recruiter. And then your recruiter will hand the child over to a smuggler. The smuggler will traffic the children from 180 different nations into Mexico. Once they get into Mexico, they hand them over to the cartels. The cartels will bring them to the border, where they then are handed over to a mule. And then the mule actually smuggles the child across the border. And then after the mule gets the child across the border, he's then turned back over to the child trafficker. The trafficker will take him to a stash house, and that's where they wait until they can find a buyer. Once they find a buyer, then they are sold into the American nightmare. Well, what our government has done is now the cartels, knowing this, all they have to do is put a phone number on the child's shirt. They'll safety pin a name, an address, and a phone number on a child's shirt. And then that is the child has obviously been raped and abused and beaten. He's being trafficked into America. The child's already broken. The cartels know that they control that child. So they tell that child to say that's my aunt, my uncle, my dad, my brother, whatever, relationship they choose to say. And then instead of the traffickers having to hire a mule to smuggle the child across the border and then deal with, the risk of getting caught trafficking a child across the border. Now all they have to do is safety pin a phone number and a name to their shirt, and our government's going to take over the rest of that operation. So this is where DHS has created a public-private partnership with these cartels where they no longer need mules. Border Patrol agents are the mules. Border Patrol agents are going to take that child across the border, not across the border. The cartel just has to drop the child over the border wall now. And then the Border Patrol agents are going to pick up that child and then process them into the system. And then your child trafficker is now your Health and Human Services. So Health and Human Services is literally doing the role of the child trafficker. Your stash houses are now being ran by NGOs, and then the NGOs will corrupt your local law enforcement. So these NGOs will hire local law enforcement to come work at their organizations for overtime. So the cops put their 40 or 45 hours a week in on normal salary, and then they off the clock get to go and come work for these NGOs. And these NGOs would pay them extremely large amounts of money. And then that way, if there's ever an altercation or anything happens at the organization, who are they going to call? Oh, they're going to call the police that actually work for them and come do the overtime. So our government has created this public-private partnership with NGOs, cartels, and that has allowed 438,573 migrant children to be trafficked into America since the Biden administration took office. And those numbers are from July of 2024. So you can assume that probably tossed in another maybe 50,000 children have came over since then. So we're probably up there around 500,000 children that have been trafficked into America. And as of, about 4 weeks ago now, 5 weeks ago, our government has openly admitted to losing 323,000 of these children. And I'll kind of land it there, and you guys come out with some questions.
It is absolutely unbelievable. We actually have a petition, that everybody can sign that says, we do not consent to our government trafficking children, and we certainly do not consent to them using our taxpayer dollars. And I just found out recently that Speaker Johnson funded them for this fiscal year. Again, funded all these NGOs, and knowing full well that we've got this issue going on with HHS and ORR.
You're 100% right, Kimmy, and I'll dive into that and I'll break it down for everybody. So one of the main NGOs that houses the majority of these children in America, or has trafficked the majority of these children into America, is called Southwest Key Programs. From 2020 to 2024, Southwest Key Programs has received $2,890,997,217 in our tax funds, right? So if I break this down and I go year by year, in 2021, and I'm just going to round to keep it simple, $359 million. In 2022, $789 million. In 2023, $770 million. And in 2024, $972 million. So what that means is that when Speaker Nancy Pelosi was controlling the House, she had given $1.14 million to the NGO Southwest Key Programs. Now, under Nancy Pelosi's reign, that first year in 2021, that funding was probably awarded in the beginning of the year. So it wasn't until March of 2021, 60 days after the Biden administration had taken office, that they had openly admitted to losing the first 20,000 children. But the excuse was, oh, we lost these children because we didn't have the proper funding. So then come 2022, Nancy did double their funding up to $789 million. But again, at that point in time, there was only probably, under that they were aware of 20,000 children missing. Now, if we fast forward to the beginning of 2023, by 2023, before Speaker McCarthy even took office, it was public knowledge that the government had lost 85,000 children. So then they decided to continue to fund these organizations knowing that they had already lost 85,000 children. There was no oversight, and they were not complying with allowing anybody to come and view these facilities or inspect these facilities. Then in 2024, Speaker Mike Johnson decided to give them $972 million. So Speaker Johnson had increased funding to the #1 child trafficking organization in America by 35%. Now let's talk about the second one. The second one would be MBM Inc. Now MBM Inc., same scenario. And MBM Inc. received a total of $788 million, thanks to Speaker Mike Johnson. Under Nancy Pelosi, they only received $227 million. So MBM Inc. was a military defense contractor for the military defense contractor in the Iraq War. So they delivered supplies, they set up facilities, they moved bodies. They just basically did whatever the government needed them to do over in the Iraq War. And of course, they were the first ones to receive funding when our government wanted to basically turn America into the human and child trafficking capital of the world. So Speaker Mike Johnson increased funding by 71.3% to MBM Inc. And if we go down to endeavors, which is the one where you see like Hernando Arce, he calls it the ARC, the Family Replacement Center. They're all over down there in Texas. He increased funding from Nancy Pelosi only gave endeavors 11 million. Speaker Mike Johnson gave endeavors 115 million and increased their funding by 91.5%. So when I say that this is a Democrat agenda and it's bankrolled by the Republicans, that's what I mean. It's not left versus right. It's just it's a uniparty and they're both corrupt and they're funding every one of these NGOs.
Yeah, I've been talking with Carlos in the back channels, and they had those hearings this week, and he's like, it is Republicans as much as it is the Democrats. And I mean, we found out, right, that it's two wings, one bird, and it's just our government as a whole. They have been able to get away with murder, if you will, and all of these nefarious things because we weren't paying attention. We were, whether it's due to food or what they're spraying in the air or, whatever it may be, or, dumbing us down or all the different things that have sort of put us in this coma state. We're not putting up with it anymore. So I'm so glad that you're, shining a light on all of this, because we cannot allow them to continue to operate as they are. And they're so arrogant. They just think that they're going to get away with this continuously.
I couldn't agree more.
Welcome, everybody. I just want to reset the space, and please repost the space. We're trying something new. We're doing community spaces. So if you are not a part of the community, you can just go and click on at the top of the space where it says America Mission, and you can join the community right there, and that allows you to comment. So this is possibly the wave of the future of X, and we are giving it a little spin to see how it does. Did I do right, Kelly?
That was excellent. I think we lost Ryan though. Hopefully he's able to reconnect. He was probably he was on the road, right? So.
Yeah, he was going from his car to his house. So
yeah,
that was awesome, Kim.
Yeah, amazing.
I tried.
Yeah, so that American Mission button that she's talking about is at the top of the space, right next to that flashing record button. It's the rectangle that says American Mission. It's got the little community logo at the beginning. Just click on that, request to join, and I will approve you. I've been approving people as we go along. So yeah, definitely. Also, check out AmericanMission.com until Ryan gets back. Here he is. Let's get him back on stage.
Yeah, that's one of the lovely parts of spaces, is that when you go from your Wi-Fi to Bluetooth, or vice versa, you typically will have to come back into the room because it messes with your being able to hear things. You'll be able to hear some people, but not all people. So just one of the glorious glitches of spaces.
Is anybody not able to see the actual space? Oh, there it came back. Okay, now I can see it again. Sorry, it was like I could only see the nest. I couldn't see anybody.
Yeah, it's been doing that a lot lately too, where like I'll be scrolling the nest and then I go to push back up and see all the bubbles, and I can't get it to go back up on my screen. So the way that you solve that problem is you leave, and then when you come back in, when you get to that button where it says start listening, scroll up so that you've got a few rows of bubbles before you enter the space, and it won't do that.
Hello.
Hi, Gabriel.
How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you? Do I hear sheep in the
I
background?
thought I heard a goat.
Come again, please. The network's not that good.
Yes.
Not good
What
here.
do you have to contribute, Gabriel? Are you have a question, or is there something that you'd like to contribute that's relevant?
No, I just want to hear from you guys.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. We'll speak to you later. Take care.
Poor Gabriel. Sorry about that, buddy. But
take care of that
we're here to do some important work here, so we're not playing around with that nonsense. There comes Jen. She'll kick him off the stage.
I've got a bit of Jen in me. Don't worry. I'll put the fire to the brimstone with these people.
Hi, Jen. Can we hear you now?
Hey guys, I can hear you now.
Yay!
I couldn't hear anybody.
We were just talking about the gloriousness of the spaces glitches that are so much fun, and then we had a visitor from Gibraltar. All right, so
Fun.
So Ryan, so you just got back from El Salvador. Tell us a little bit about that and what you were doing down there.
Yeah, so it's crazy how the world works and how I feel like that I keep saying that I'm on this divine mission by God, because every time I think that I've been trying to leave the political arena and go back into Bitcoin full time, because every problem we have here, if you go down, narrow it down to its root cause, it's money, right? If our government didn't have the ability to print money out of thin air and devalue the wealth of our entire nation, they would never have the funding to fund these organizations. And if you don't have the funding, every one of these NGOs will crumble. Even the good ones will crumble without the proper funding. So I was down in El Salvador, and every time I go anywhere, Dubai, El Salvador, I'm like, now that I'm into the child trafficking world, it's like I see it everywhere. Whether it's prostitution, whether it's escort services, whether it's corrupt, shady, dirty, grimy massage parlors, it doesn't matter. It's like you can, like, once you understand how these networks work, you can pretty much see it everywhere. So anytime I go anywhere and I get any spare time, I'm always, just investigating. And I went down to El Salvador to film a Bitcoin documentary and to build this digital course that I'm working on that's going to basically take you from knowing absolutely nothing about Bitcoin to being able to secure it and hold it and keep it in a way that no government can ever take it from you. In the process of that, I was at an event on Sunday night, and a lady comes, sits down, she starts talking, what do you do? Documentary filmmaker. Oh my gosh, blah, blah, do you know? And I said, I specialize in human and child trafficking. She goes, oh, do you know that El Salvador was the first country to play the film or show the film Sound of Freedom? And I'm like, yeah, I think, what I did? I think about that. And she goes, yeah, South America, Sound of Freedom did let's just say 200 million sales versus America, where only did 50 million. So Sound of Freedom was like a huge international, huge, ginormous success everywhere. And the reason that it was aired in the first place, the first country to play it in El Salvador or in South America was El Salvador, was because of a lady named Nancy. Nancy is President Bukele's godmother, or auntie, as they say. And she created, I think it's a Airline Ambassadors, which is the outreach program which teaches stewardess and flight attendants on how to spot signs of child trafficking. And I forget what the act was called but it was her who, anyways, long story short, it was her who got this basically special training that all the flight attendants go to receive now to spot and look for signs of child trafficking. And she also worked with a few politicians in the United States on some of the recent human trafficking and child trafficking acts and laws that have been put into place. And she has one of her best friends, his name is Bob, they call him St. Bob, runs a rescue orphanage for female children between the ages of 11 and 17 who have been raped and are now pregnant. And not most, but some of the girls that he takes in have been raped by their fathers or a family member or a relative, and he takes them in. And he takes them in at, say, age 11, and he keeps them, right? They can have their child. He has not had, out of all the girls that he's taken, not one has had an abortion. And here's the crazy part, even when it's their father who raped them, they want to keep their child. They show up at his organization. They've been abandoned. They have absolutely nothing. And, they're on the verge of suicide and they want to take their own life and they want nothing to do with that child. And he says within 3 to 7 days of these girls, the new girl coming in and being around all the other girls and seeing how safe she is, he's like, it takes about 3 days for that look of absolute terror on their face to subside and set in. They start getting a little bit more comfortable. And he helps these girls raise their children. He helps them go to school. He helps them get an education. He has this entire structured workshop for them. Like Mondays is, education day. Tuesdays is culinary day. So they have restaurants and organizations locally where he takes the 6 girls. They go, they pump and they have nannies that watch the kids at home, and they go to work and they learn skill sets. And then on Wednesdays it's beauty school, basically. So he teaches them how to do nails and how to cut hair. So he basically takes these girls in and he helps raise them, and he provides a stable environment where they can basically better themselves. And the idea behind this is in El Salvador and in these really poor countries, once a girl gets pregnant, they call them breeders. They just breed these girls. Once they get pregnant, they just abandon them. Then the girl will have a kid, and then she won't be able to take care of it. And then she'll meet some other guy, and the guy will be like, well, I don't want to take care of your other kids. So if you want to be with me, you gotta, give your kid away or whatever. So basically, it's not uncommon for a woman in El Salvador in these lower poverty areas to have roughly 10 kids. So if Bob doesn't take this girl in, right, and she has her baby, which means she's going to have another and another and another. And he goes, and it's not uncommon for a 12-year-old to give birth. And then when that child turns 12, she gives birth. So basically it's a 12-year-old gives birth to a 12-year-old or gives birth. And then 12 years later, her kid gives birth. And 12 years later, her kid gives birth. And then 12 years later. So in basically like 36 years, you have 4 additional children. Well, I'm sorry, so 12, if he takes in 12 kids and each kid would have had 10 more kids, and then those kids would have had 10 more kids, and then those kids would have had 10 more kids. In basically 36 years, you end up with roughly 12,000 additional homeless children. And this is what you see in El Salvador. So instead of trying to, he's going about it from a completely different aspect than anybody I've ever seen. His thesis, and he's he's connected with Harvard and Yale, and all these universities are doing studies on what he's doing down there. And he basically, for the cost of one Bitcoin, was basically $70,000. He can save 12,000 children. And I'm not doing it justice. Like I have interviews that'll be coming out, and a ton of videos. And I went into this organization and I spoke with these. He let me interview 2 of the girls. One of the girls was 13. She had been being raped from the time she was 6. When she was 6, she was raped by her cousin, and she went and told her grandma, and her grandma beat her ass bloody and told her that it was her fault that her cousin raped her because she wore shorts. So these are in these third world countries, most of the females there, especially the younger ones, they have maybe a 3rd to a 5th grade education level, and it's so common for them to be raped in their villages that it's just normal to them.
They've normalized.
They don't even know enough. Yeah, they don't even know that it's illegal, right? So what Bukele has done now is, if one of these, say the girl's pregnant, she's 12 years old, she's pregnant, she ends up at a hospital, and then while in that hospital, they suspect that she was raped by an adult, or whatever the case may be, and if she says yes, they'll immediately send authorities to that home and arrest that man, and he's going away for 20 years, automatic. What they're doing in El Salvador it's truly amazing. But where I'm going to bring this back home is right here in America. Out of the 438,573 migrant children that came across the border, they're coming from 3 countries: Guatemala, Ecuador, and El Salvador. And I couldn't wrap my head around why, how, with what Bukele's doing down there, how strict the law enforcement is down there. They're freaking everywhere. Almost all of the criminals you can't even buy a joint down there. Like, that's how airtight it was. Like, I was at clubs, just searching around, seeing like, what, is it really like this down here? Is it not? No drugs, no cocaine, no ecstasy, never seen one homeless person. So I couldn't wrap my head around how are 60% of the children coming from these 3 areas? It like, the math didn't add up. So come to find out, when Bukele arrested all of the cartel members in El Salvador, he's arrested 800,000. Well, prior to Bukele's reign, the cartels ran the country, and it wasn't uncommon for the head of one of these cartels to basically be like a king in a village and have 5 girlfriends and have 5 kids with every girlfriend, or have 10 or 15 girlfriends and have 5 or 10 kids with every single female, because they were the breadwinners. All of the beautiful women in those villages were like, well, there's nowhere else for me to make money. I have no way to make income. If I'm dating, or I'm one of the head cartel's girls, well, then I'm going to be able to have my kids. My kids are going to be safe. They're going to have income. I'm going to have income. I'm not going to have to worry. Well, when Bukele came and arrested 800,000 breadwinners, if you will, think about how many children now have no parent, or the mom went to prison as well, or the mom's already been dead, or the mom was already being pimped out somewhere else, or the mom just up and left. And so there's this massive pool of these orphans in El Salvador. So are they being trafficked into America? Probably some of the younger ones, yes. But for a long time now, they're telling me that it's just common in El Salvador for people just to up and leave El Salvador because it's so poor and try to migrate to America. So he thinks that a lot of these kids, that basically anyone over about probably the age of 12 that can walk and is in decent shape, if given the opportunity, they would attempt as children to make it to America. So that is why we're probably seeing a majority of these kids are coming here from El Salvador, because all they have to do is make it to any NGO or any one of these organizations or any one of these outposts that's ran by the UN or HIAS or any other NGO organization. And those organizations are basically going to deliver those children to America. So there's a lot of these kids that I don't think are going to have homes to go back to. So it's going to be organizations like Bob's, and I put it down there in the nest. This NGO, the way that this NGO is structured down there should be the model on how any NGO in America should operate that's dealing with children. They have a special branch of the El Salvadorian government that visits any facility or any NGO that's doing anything with children. They are visited on a monthly basis, and it's mandatory for all of the children in that facility to be separated from all of the adults in that facility. And they do one-on-one interviews with all the children just to make sure that there's nothing shady being done at these NGOs and these organizations. So the oversight there in El Salvador, from what I've seen, it's 100 times better than what we see here in America.
Well, we did have that going on, where we were separating them and doing the DNA testing and that kind of stuff. We did have some of those measures in place, with the last administration, but, definitely not enough.
Yeah, I'm talking about after. So the DNA testing is done as they cross the border. We separate the children the second that they're coming across the border to make sure that the person that we're giving that child over to is actually their adult. I'm talking about the facilities like Southwest Key Programs, where these children are in these long-term care facilities, or CPS would be a perfect example. Any one of these foster homes that is being ran by our government, those are, like, if it's like, say CPS owns or runs the organization, there's a separate government organization which would come in and interview each one of the children in one of those foster care homes to make sure that everything's on the up and up.
Which is what
I think
we
do have
should
that.
be doing, and they're supposed to be doing it. But that Becerra guy, in his hearing the other day, he was like, well, we only have to do 1%. I mean, it was just absolutely ridiculous what he was saying in there. I was like blown away by it. Hey, Walter.
No, Kim, you're right on that. And the sad part about that is Congress's job. That is the legislative branch's job. At any time, Congress, we control the House, could pass any bill or law that gives them basically superpowers. If they basically write a law that forces every NGO to provide a full list of every child that has ever been in their care or their facility for the last 30 days and updated addresses of where the kids were delivered to. They could pass any laws that they want that would force these NGOs to comply to whatever standards they set. And that's the saddest part about this, is our government has had the power to rein in these NGOs and fix this problem instantly, and they chose not to.
Wow.
Well, that's the fox running the hen house. That's what that is. It's hard for me to understand. Thanks, Kimberly, for the mic and America Mission, my family. And good to see everybody. But the question that I have, I guess it's not a question because you pretty much answered it, because we're funding it from our own legislative branches. Is the number one driving force of this, is it simply perversion? And what would be the second driver of something like harming these children the way that at this pace?
Hey, sorry, you broke up there. Can you run that back one more time? No quarter?
I said, you pretty much explained that, the number one, it sounds like the number one driver is just simply perversion, right? What would be another driver of all of this? I mean, all of this stuff, the money being spent, billions and billions of dollars behind harming children.
So I think the number one driver is money, because it's $600 per day, per head, per child, right? So the second that you open up a facility that can house these children, since there's such a constant supply of children coming across that border, the second you open up a facility, you can start billing our government for it. And they're gonna pay that bill.
For sex slaves, though.
No, just for bodies, right? So it's $600 per day, per child, at every NGO in America. Right now, that I know of for sure, my numbers are even close. I would say there's 63,000 children being held inside these facilities. At these facilities, they shouldn't be getting raped or being assaulted. There are some type of protocols and things in place that, you know, in a little bit of oversight that kind of, I don't want to say prevents it, but makes it a little bit more difficult. Where the ones that are being sold off for sex, that is what most likely is what's happening after they're leaving these facilities, after they're being delivered to that adult. So like the 323,000 that our government is openly admitted to losing, those 323,000 are most likely being labor trafficked, sex trafficked, or organ harvested as we speak.
So Ryan, what I'm reading from what you're saying is that they're treating these facilities kind of like the prison industrial complex, where they get paid per bed filled, right? Like if you're a prison, you know, one of those owners of those prisons that house, you know, prisoners. If you have empty beds, you're not getting paid on them. So they think of it as a commodity that way. So, you know, they create these quotas and so on and so forth. And you got to make sure those beds are filled so you get paid. And that's the way I'm taking it, that these NGOs are acting, that $600 a head, they're getting paid from the government to house these children. But it's creating an incentive for them to, you know, unfortunately. Is that correct? Is that like a good correlation to it or no?
Man, you couldn't have said it any better, because that's exactly what my next documentary is. I forget how it's like child detention for profit. I forget how I worded it, but there's an entire section of my next documentary that's coming out. That's exactly, you're 100% right. The prison industrial complex has figured out a way for our government to take possession of children and build out these child detention facilities, for-profit child detention camps, or for-profit child prison camps. Because now you don't need children to get into trouble. You don't need children to break the law. You don't need juveniles to profit from them. We're going to have this never-ending slow supply of migrant children that are going to continue to be trafficked into America. So yeah, you're spot on, brother.
That's insane, man. To think somebody is going to take that model and apply it toward children. It's just sickening. Yeah.
Well, Walter, did that answer your question?
Yeah, that was that. Absolutely. I have no further questions. I appreciate the mic. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Hey, Destiny, how you doing?
Hey guys, hey Ryan, always good to have you in a space and to talk to Ryan. Absolutely adore Ryan. I wanted to elaborate on, I'm sure you already heard the news that Mayorkas and Ray refused to be in the congressional hearing publicly because they're pussies, in my personal opinion, excuse my English. But the problem that comes up a lot whenever I try to tell people about the documentary, and I try to tell people about this, and I want to know, Ryan, if you get the same problem, is that they say Trump separated kids from their parents, right? They don't understand, though, the reason behind that beyond the DNA testing. The DNA testing is one of the most intelligent things. No other country has done that. We have labeled that as an American standard that they took away under Joe Biden. And the reality is, if you watch there's another documentary. It's very difficult to watch, though, and it's done by a foreigner, but it's called Eyes of the Devil. And it's a very, very dark. It's about Europe's trafficking of children trade. And in it, they talk directly to a trafficker who's, blacked out face, so you can't see him. But they tell you what the plan is to do, and it's been successful in Europe for eons, is that they'll find a girl that's alone and pregnant, and they'll send out these scouts to see if she's got a man, see what kind of financial struggle she might be in. And then they'll decide if she's vulnerable enough, they'll send one of the scouts to just ask her for coffee and chat and get to know her. And then next thing you know, he'll offer her $50,000 for the baby. And the way that it works, and this is why we need DNA testing, is that the trafficker, when the woman is ready to give birth in a regular hospital, will go to the hospital with the pregnant woman, sign the birth certificate, and be able to walk out that hospital and across any border in Europe with that baby, no questions asked. That's why we do DNA testing, or did in this country, because it's that simple to take infants across borders when you just have a birth certificate or just because you say so. And so, my question, it's not really a question, I'm just saying, this is a concept that I think we definitely all need to repeat to people, because I'm so tired, I'm sure you are too, Ryan, of hearing the separating the mom from the parents. It's no, we need to do that. And that's the reason why.
Because when they're buying a child like that, you're also, now you have the mother's, all of her medical records, right? You know her blood type, you know everything about her and the child as well. So if you ever were to want to procure a child that you're going to futurely sell their organs for, that is probably the best way to do it.
The organ
Trump ended
selling
that,
part.
you know, Trump ended that here, and we finally were going to be different. And I just want to write a letter to AOC and be like, hey, listen, this is why, you stupid exploitive, right? But the point is, I know for a fact that that's the reasoning behind DNA testing. It's not because they want to separate families. It is to ensure that it is their family. And it's really a genius plan, and it needs to be reinstituted like immediately. And I'm looking forward to Trump doing that, hopefully on day one.
If we get to day one.
We also need to go back, and every adult that's received a child, you're going to have 30 days to come in immediately and complete a DNA test with that child. If not, we should be releasing warrants immediately for the kidnapping and trafficking of a child, so we can go and hunt you down.
Well, how how is them declaring like the cartels and stuff a terrorist organization? Will that help the situation?
I don't know. It'll help us go. I think once you're a terrorist organization, then we can be authorized to use deadly force outside of America, if I'm not mistaken.
On honor.
Yeah,
I mean,
that
this
needs to
is so
happen.
easy to shut down, guys. I mean, it's it's hard to even put into words or comprehend how quickly this can be fixed. It is so simple. It is so easy to end this entire operation. The biggest hurdle and the biggest problem is going to be dealing with these children after and putting in proper oversights, because I believe a lot of these organizations were created with the best of intentions.
I think
They've
the
been
answer
taken
is on
over.
its way, and it's called Tom Homan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what do we do with these children, guys? Like in my personal opinion, we should eliminate all migration, good and bad migration, period, for the next couple of years. And all of the funds and resources and anything that would have been dealt with, any type of migration whatsoever, should be designed to like give these children a fresh start. Like, I don't think we should be sending them home. I think that if parents are back home that want their children and they're willing to, God, it just sucks. I mean, some of these children have been sold by their parents. So they're going to be given right back to the parents that sold them. And they're going to be, put right back into this nightmare that they came from. I don't know how we do it, but
I think that we need to develop some sort of programs like you're talking about where, they can be in an environment and have some sort of a normal childhood while they're getting intense therapy from, just what they've had to endure.
You know what's crazy? The place that I was over, I might be stepping out of my lane here, but I didn't hear one thing about any counseling. And when I seen these girls and how much they loved St. Bob and how happy they were at the home that they were living in, the counseling thing, like I want to go sit with somebody and relive that shit and rehash that out. I don't know, but these were the most happiest children that I've ever seen. They're happier than any American child I've ever seen in my life.
I think it would be
they received no
different kind
counseling.
of therapy. I don't think it would be like a reliving thing. I think it would be like a more of just giving them support and love and, recognizing behaviors that they're going to have, because they're going to have unique behaviors based upon what they've been through. And so I think that there needs to be some, and when I say therapy, I don't mean traditional sense, because we know that the guidance counselors and we know that the therapists, that they're a real big problem in this country right now. But I think that you need to have specialists that can help with the mental part of healing, if you will. And maybe that's from a religious aspect. Maybe it's the spiritual learning and that kind of thing that would be the basis of it. I'm not sure. So
I would say the churches, but So from my understanding, some of the churches are involved in some of this stuff, with the trafficking. I don't know if I'm incorrect in stating that or not, but, that's what I've heard. So it's like, where do we go to help these kids?
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right. So we
Trust.
got some hands. We got some hands. Let's go to Jack B, and then we'll go to Paul, and then we'll go back to you, Walter.
I appreciate you, Sophia. Thank you. I'm going to talk about another.
We can't hear you, Jack.
Oh, hold on. I'll take that off speaker. Put me back. Take someone else first, and then come back.
Hey, Jack, we can't hear you, brother.
All right,
you
so
sound like you're,
yeah, he said let Paul go, and then he'll come back. What's up, Paul?
Hey, Kimberly, and great points, by the way, Kimberly, what you said earlier. Ryan, it's always to hear your voice, brother. I'm always happy when I see that you're safe, because I know you're out there putting yourself in danger to get us the information that you do. So I just want to thank you real quick. My main question after hearing this is, who do you think is our best ally right now in a position of power in our government? Because I don't hear a lot of congressmen talking about this. I know we're all excited about Homan, being appointed. And I saw JJ the other day. What a fantastic job he did at the hearing. But as far as people who are like, congressmen, women, senators, do we have a powerful ally in this fight?
I think Matt Gaetz is the most powerful ally. In my personal opinion, we know, right? All of our congressmen and women are crooked. If you have been insider trading and making millions and millions of dollars off the backs of American taxpayers, knowingly, with getting access that you're getting access to, and you've profited extreme amounts of money from it, you should go to fucking prison. So yeah, I hope Matt Gaetz is our biggest fucking ally, and I hope all these fucking assholes in Congress start getting arrested for the crimes that they fucking committed. Because once they arrest them and their seat is vacant, hopefully we can actually put a legit ally, somebody that's on America's side, in those positions of power. Inside of our government, I trust none, nobody. Matt Gaetz was literally the only one who's literally not taking outside money from lobbyists. So outside of that, if somebody buys you or somebody owns you or you voted a certain way because of somebody that gave you money and it wasn't in the best interest of your constituents, then you can't be trusted, in my opinion. So I don't have any trust in these guys.
Well, and it's up to us too. We have to be the ones that hold them to it. Like, we cannot back down. We have to step on their throats. And I'm like, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm real sad that Matt Gaetz is not going to be the AG. Did you not know that?
Wait, what?
Matt Gaetz, yeah, he stepped down from that because he said that it was taking too much away from it was taking the focus away from what needed to get done. So Trump announced, I believe Pam Bondi she was formerly the AG of Florida.
Country, what a fucking joke. I'm so fucking, anybody that wants to get the fuck out of America, go to El Salvador. This country is such, like, it's so fucking toxic and negative and fucking depressing and corrupt. I went to El Salvador and it's the fucking happiest country in the fucking world. Everything is thriving there. It is literally the land of opportunity. You can buy a beachfront condo, a double beachfront. So I look out my master bedroom, and on the north and east side, because it's in a bay, I got the ocean, palm trees, beautiful weather, $100,000 for a 2-bedroom, 1,400 square foot gated condo in a gated community with a pool in the backyard and the beach in the backyard. And then if you want to go up onto, like, in California, if you were to say like the hills, they go up like high in the hills, and your house would like overlook the ocean and all the houses on the beach and everything like that. You can get a 2-bedroom house up there for about $25,000. And the employees there work for $10 a day. So I'm going to move my entire business down there, and I'm going to pay my editors $50 a day. Right now I'm paying them $150 a day. It's the day rate for my editors. I go to El Salvador. I could teach the people there how to edit. I can pay them $50 a day. I can 5x their standard of living and live in a country it's so beautiful down there. I can't speak highly of it. And it's like, I don't even know how to explain.
And you don't have all these jerk offs
it's
to deal with.
Fucking corrupt here in America. And it's like, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. It's like, I can do so much more good fighting for these children and helping these trafficked children from El Salvador than I can here. It's basically where I'm going with this.
Like an extremely huge dragnet operation that would like trustable people to run it.
Well, yeah, you're also going, closer to the root cause, right? Like, I mean, if you make things better in these other places, then you don't get the migration that we are seeing, right? So, I mean, it's not a bad idea. Did you have something else you wanted to say? Oh, wait, we're going to Jack. Paul,
Yeah, I just had a follow-up question to that. And as depressing and sad as it is to hear that answer, where the only person you thought of was Gates, and clearly Gates is going through some issues right now. We're going to find out if he's either going to go back through Congress, or there's a slight chance maybe DeSantis appoints him to Senate. Is there the only other person I know of that doesn't take like PAC money or outside money is like Thomas Massey, but I've never heard him very passionate about this particular subject. Is there really no one else you can think of that we can, push and lean on to bring more awareness through someone who's been elected?
No, man, it's a fucking joke. What Israel got their fucking wish. Matt Gaetz is fucking gone, not attorney general. What a smooth play by Trump in Israel. What a fucking joke.
When are you going to come out with the Israel documentary, Ryan, or is it already out?
Stu Peters is releasing his on the 24th, and then I'm going to follow that up with mine right shortly after. My editor's finishing. I have 4 editors, but my one that's going to be taking that project on is going to be starting it here probably in the next couple of days. So maybe it'll take him 30 days to get that out. I just wanted to see what all Stu Peters gets done on his, because Stu's is going to be so good. Mine's more of like a history lesson, if that makes sense, on like the history of corruption in Israel and, the whole 9 yards, versus what Stu's is really gonna, I think, put the nail in the coffin for Israel, I hope.
We had this judge that was appointed, and this judge, it seemed that they thought that saying child rape was basically racist. How is this person appointed? There was like 5 Republican congressmen that did not show up to vote on this appointment, and this person was appointed. And it's like you said, like, these people are just ridiculously corrupt. Like, you're not even doing your job of showing up and representing your constituents on a vote for a judge that is obviously demented.
Well, they made deals, right? So they made deals for the circuit judges versus the appellate judges. So that they've already got backroom deals to get certain people appointed.
Yep, Israel didn't want fucking Matt Gaetz in there, raining on their parade. Didn't want to get rid of all the politicians that were being bought out by these motherfuckers. What a fuck! Oh gosh, it pisses me off so bad.
I know. I was so mad today. I was so upset.
In this space, I can't get back down in the gosh damn to see people, so it's even.
One of the people was Senator Bill Haggerty. I sent him a message today, pointing out the fact. So it was Braun, Daines, Fetterman. John Fetterman didn't show up. Haggerty, Rubio, and Vance didn't vote. So I don't know, like, Vance is going for VP, but this is for the 49 to 45. The Senate confirmed the nomination of Embry J. Kidd to be the United States Circuit Court judge for the 11th Circuit. Senator Manchin voted no. So Manchin voted against that. And this, I guess Matt Whitlock was saying this nominee has written laws against child rape that are racist. He had 2 previous decisions where he gave lenient sentences to child predators from the Senate. I guess there were child predators from the Senate, he's saying. Now he has a lifetime judgeship instead of a Trump nominee because Republicans didn't bother to show up.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and go, and then I'm going to drop down. But Ryan, we're still full speed ahead, man. Hang in there with us. I know the beach sounds good in retirement in El Salvador. My niece and her daughter are there on a mission right now, a church mission. So, but love to visit there. I just wanted to say that you were on course talking about how to stop it. And then the fact that I think you were hitting on some good points there. We'd have to stop immigration entirely. And I agree with that, just based on, what we've been dealing with for the past 4 years with the gates being wide open. I say that is a great idea, and to pinch everything off. And then we can worry about how, because what's going to happen with these kids after that is we're going to have communities of kids that could easily turn into small prisons of some type, or camps of some type, and we're going to pay to raise them and teach them and everything like that. So that is the reality that I see at any point when we do pinch it off. The next phase would be to set up those types of facilities to raise these kids and give them an opportunity.
We just don't have the, I think it's going to take a new type of system to do it. I really do. All right, let's go to Jack real quick, and then we will go to, hey, Jen. We'll go to Jennifer, and then we'll go to Shep, and then James.
Real quick, Kim, can we reset with I just want to let people know, if you want to comment in the purple pill, you got to join the community. You'll find the community located at the top where the record button is blinking. At the top of the space next to it, you'll see the community icon that says America Mission TM. Click on that, request to join, and I'll get you approved, and then you could interact.
Hey guys, is there any way we can delete all this stuff in the nest so we can actually see who's speaking? I can't see anybody.
Yeah, we could do that real quick and then put everything back. Kim, what do you think?
I've left the space 4 times now and came back, and it's no matter what I do.
Yeah, I'll take it out right now. I'm doing that. While I'm doing that, go ahead, Jack, and then we'll go to Jennifer.
I'm just addressing Destiny. How you doing tonight, Destiny?
Seriously.
Destiny, I wanted to know what your investigations turned up regarding the Devereaux Foundation. Were you interested in those names and talking to like Randy Brownrigg, Sylvester Stallone, kind of like, Manuel Rodriguez, Cliff Silvers, because those people were at the Gateway Project 1969 with me. MK Ultra program ran by the McLeods. Yes, they were one of the 3 groups. My family, actually. It's kind of weird that they were involved with that whole project. And I suggested it's a hybrid program in 1969.
Yeah, I got your message, and I will definitely give you an update when I find anything.
Well, you should interview some of those people, because Manuel Rodriguez, I'm quite sure it's the same man, is down in the Miami prison system. You can find him. You can find Randy Brownrigg in Nashua, New Hampshire, and you can find Stallone wherever he's at now, because he was at Greendale. We played soccer, lost 2-1 long time ago. I get a photographic memory, so that's what's my whole thing. And when I was taken to Motov, New York, in 1973 under Preston's care, that's been posted on my timeline. Yes, the government's been corrupted so bad. What they're doing to children is incredible, and it needs to be stopped, and stopped now. There's too many victims of this government.
And that's what I think is so powerful about these spaces, right? Is that it connects us, and we can, compare notes, and we can, get support for each other, and then we can really be effective in stopping this, because this is absolutely ridiculous. It needs to stop now.
Thank you. I just want to add fuel to the fire, because I've got names, and yes, I can prove it too.
Nice. Thank you, Jack. All right. What's up, Jennifer McWilliams?
Hello, American Mission, Kim, everybody in here. So what an amazing space, and I will just take the opportunity to remind everyone to share it, because this is seriously information that everyone needs to hear, and it's so important. So and Ryan, thank you so much for your work. Seriously, I've been following you, and what you're doing is amazing for exposing all of this and working for this. I most people in here know, but Ryan, I work with in education. My organization is called Courage is a Habit, and we are fighting the education system. And I wanted to bring a little more context as far as the NGOs are. I mean, that has to stop. And so I just wanted to explain to people how it goes from the NGOs into our government system, specifically the K through 12 education system. So we have what's called a migrant education program that is federally funded through Title I funds that allows people to bring in these children. And they do not like to call them illegals. They don't want to call them the word they like to use is newcomers. They are newcomers. And the newcomers can come in, and anyone, it does not matter, can bring a child in and register them, enroll them into the education system. And at that moment, then they get to receive all of the services that our education system provides to our children. And one thing about that.
Say that one more time. I'm not sure. I want to make sure I'm understanding this.
Mm-hmm. It's called the Migrant Education Program. They call it MEPS. And so it is federally funded, and you can show up with any child. And when I say child, I'm going to expand on that because it actually goes up to the age, you can be 21 years old if you are what they consider a newcomer or illegal, however you want to word it. You can be 21 years old.
Illegal.
Yeah, illegal, I know. And you can be enrolled in K through 12 at 21 years old so that you receive funding. And it is a way to funnel funds that are meant for our children that are in the education system. These funds are meant for extra services for children that need extra academic help, emotional services, anything like that they need while they're in school. But now this money is being funneled to the illegals. Again, literally we have high schools in this country that are taking on 21-year-olds from other countries. And they are able to then, and it doesn't matter, they have lowered the bar so low, the academics does not matter. The purpose of this system is to then provide through the education system and through Medicaid any health services that you need. They also are not allowed, schools are not allowed to ask for any documentation. So anyone can show up with a child that needs any kind of services. If you enroll them into the education system, you will then receive those services, and the schools are not allowed for any kind of documentation to ensure that you are supposed to legally have this child. Therefore, the schools cannot report anything that is, sinister or that they suspect is not right, because it is illegal for them to ask for any documentation. And then they get these services. And so from the NGOs, it goes into, when we're talking about, kind of putting in air quotes here, children up to 21 years old, then they are getting this money funneled to them for any health services that will include birth control, abortions, that includes the transgender mutilation services, whatever they want. And it comes out of the funds that are meant to help educate our children. And then another reason they want to do this is because then the school enrollment, the number increases. So then our federal government and state governments then can justify asking or requiring more taxpayer money to go into the schools. So it's a funneling operation of redistribution of of funds and wealth to these illegals. They also then, one thing that we are working on right now, and we have a huge exposure coming, we have found that in response to this Trump administration and the whole, deportation act that they're going to push forward is that they are now funneling the schools. So we always talk about books, and it's always in the terms of pornography, obscenity books that they flood the schools with to brainwash and influence children. Well, what we have found now is that they are flooding the schools with books that are brainwashing children to accept the open borders concept. So they are being taught, and this goes along with, I talk often about social emotional learning. The schools are being flooded with a massive amount of books that come in and are teaching children that if you want to close the borders, if you don't want to accept anyone who comes in, if you don't want to give services to anyone that shows up, then you are an abuser, you are an oppressor. And so I make that point because we have a huge problem here. This generation of children that are in schools right now, while we focus on the issue that is happening right now, today, and what do we do with these children? What do we do about the circumstances that we're dealing with today? In 5-6 years, we are going to have an entire generation coming out that is going to be put in places of power that are going to believe that closing our borders and having these restrictions are killing people, and it's oppressive and it's horrible, and that's not compassion and that's not empathy. So I want to put that on people's radar. Again, we're going to have a huge exposure soon on this. We're working on it. But our fight is today, but it is also, I always say, tomorrow, because seriously, they are teaching children that this is wrong. They are telling them that anyone that is fighting to close the borders, anyone that is fighting to stop taking in anyone from anywhere for any reason, that you are killing people and you are not compassionate. And it is a problem. We have to focus on both areas. And specifically, we are focused on an organization that's in Maine. And just to give you an idea, they just started a program with the Department of Education in Maine, and they have just put in over 6,000 books. And these books are all about being compassionate to and why we must have open borders. So it goes from the NGOs straight into our education system. The education system then collects all of this data and these enrollment numbers, and then and it doesn't matter. These children can be enrolled for a week, but they get the data out of that. That's another notch on their, whatever you want to call it, bedpost, which is not the right probably thing to say here, but it's all data so that they can justify bringing in more money. It's more taxpayer money they're going to take from us and then continue to pay for this sinister, just horrific agenda that's abusing children. And just finally, I will also say they've been planning and preparing for this. They knew this was coming. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone, but I live in Indiana, super red majority state, and about, I think it was three years ago, when I was doing some work investigating what was going on here as far as the education system went, I was floored when I found out that they were using money under the McKinney, I think it's McKinney-Vento Act, which ensures that homeless students have access to public education. Again, most people would agree that, of course they should have access to education, but what they were talking about were these illegals coming in. And here in Indiana, we actually use some of that money to buy warehouses to place these children. That is how many children are coming into the system and then going into the education system. And again, it's not for academics. It's not to learn. It is so that they can funnel these funds out of where they should be, which is to help American children, to help them with anything that they need, the services, extra services that they need, and give them to these illegals for health services. So I just wanted to let everyone know that. And I don't know, I was in the community. I was going to put something in the purple pill, and then it said I wasn't in the community. I have no idea. I swear my account was like unfollowing people and being weird. So I joined the account.
Oh, mine's been doing that too.
Yeah, so I joined the account, the community again. If you get me approved, I can put some examples down in the purple for pill for anyone to share. But again, Ryan, thank you so much. This is such a huge issue, and it is systemic, and it goes, so deep. So I appreciate what you're doing. Thank you.
Well, and it's not just Maine, right? Like we
It's
saw
every state.
that.
Yeah, sorry, every state.
Right.
I just wanted to say that we've been, we focused in on one area, and that's one of them that we are researching right now. But this is happening in all 50 states. Sorry, Kim.
No, 100%. And, we saw it in Georgia with Savvy's daughter, that they were glorifying basically traveling or crossing the border illegally. I've seen it here in Florida. My son's had to write essays on, he says, we do a lot of stuff with slavery and gay stuff. Like they have put it into the curriculum on every level, and they weaved it in where it's not just a particular class. Oh, today we're going to go learn about SEL and CRT in a class. No, they thread it throughout the curriculum. So
Math,
they've got math problems, they've got science problems that have these social issues and these ideologies packed into them. It's really bizarre.
It is, and so the term for that is culturally responsive teaching. But so they are literally, in our research that we have been finding over this last month, and we will expose all of it. But this is so crazy to me. They are now calling Americans. We are not citizens. We are long-term Americans is what they are calling us. The long-term Americans need to learn. Okay, now this is education systems. They want the children to learn that you might be a long-term American, but we have to learn and understand the culture of these other children that are coming in so that we can make way for their generations that will be living here. This is literally what they said. We are long-term Americans, and we must make way for the new generations that are coming in. And so it's really sinister. And then as far as the culture goes of the school, when they get a flood of these students into the school system, they have to, not only is it in the resources and the books and the teaching method, but the culture of the school will then shift to teach the children that are in the school to accept the culture that these students are coming from. It's wild. I seriously, it's crazy. So this is going to be another fight that we have to put on our radar, because again, if we were able to shut down that border for a couple of years, like Ryan was talking about, and just really get a hold of this, we have to remember that there is an entire generation that is coming, that is being taught in this way.
Yeah, those NGOs are the problem. They're the linchpin of all of this. The second an NGO opens up in your town or anywhere, the amount of money that NGO has acquired will buy off everything. Every local judge, every city official, they want to pass legislation, they want to put new curriculum out. The money is unlimited, and they have a never-ending supply of it. So until we gut these NGOs, it's going to be a never-ending problem.
Absolutely. We need to really address the grants that are coming out of the federal government.
No, 100%. Hey, Shepherds Watch. Yes. How you doing?
Hi, Kimberly. Thank you for allowing us to speak. Hello, Ryan. How are you? This is Brandy. I'm the communications director for Shepherds Watch Foundation. And I heard a question earlier that y'all didn't get the answer for. And it was, what would a foreign terrorist organization designation do? And for those of us who are boots on the ground, our private investigation team is mostly undercover, working these sex trafficking cases in Texas. And what that's going to do is it allows us to freeze all assets. So they're not going to be able to, when we find someone that is designated in one of those organizations, they don't have to go through the lengthier process, I will call it, without that designation. It's just going to be a quicker freezing those assets. If you find one of them that is trafficking, it's going to be something that we can hopefully get law enforcement to move on quicker with that designation. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I think some of these NGOs are going to need to be coined a terrorist organization as well for what they've been doing.
Will Twitter get labeled as a terrorist organization? Is this going to be used against us like all the other laws they pass are?
Exactly. It always seems to be that way, doesn't it? But I mean, what is so astounding is that these organizations are able, like, I mean, I guess it's money, but like, how can you, as an American, as a human being, knowing what you're facilitating, like, how do you even put your head on a pillow at night? I just don't understand that. Do they like compartmentalize it? Is it like
selling your soul to the devil? That's what it is.
Oh, go ahead, Shepard.
I just want to follow up and say, it is our responsibility once we know what's happening to do something about it. We went to the Fort Worth America's Future event earlier this year, and one of the things that Boone Cutler told us, which is so very true that all of us need to think about in this space, is, and I know most of us on the panel do this, but listeners may not. People need to make sure they're taking this information that they're learning and take it out of the space and teach their community. They definitely need to stop ignoring it. It's not going to go away. Ignoring it has got us where we are today. Unfortunately, here in Texas, you were taught, I don't know about y'all, but I'm late 40s, and we were taught to mind your own business. Well, that's what got us where we are. If you have neighbors who you think are maybe looking at children a little different, pay attention to that. You hear or see something, do something about it. Call law enforcement. We cannot keep ignoring what we see. And a lot of people don't know what they see, right? Again, most of the panel probably would notice if there was possibly a trafficking issue because you've been in spaces where you've heard people like us share with you what to look for and what to do. But if you haven't, then some people just don't know. And you have people all the time, even in our space, like for myself, my personal profile is Truth Fighter 33. I hold a Trafficking Tuesday space every Tuesday night. I can promise you we get at least one person in there every week who didn't realize they were looking at a situation, but we taught them what to look for. And now they're able to do something about it. We can't just expect, a lot of people expect, well, Trump's going to get into office and everything's going to be okay. No, I know, again, we don't all think that up here, but the point for saying that is he might close that border, but we have a lot of work to do on the interior side of every single state because every state in the U.S. is a border state. And if someone doesn't believe that, definitely DM us and let me show you how your state is a border state. That's the biggest key is education. And as much as moving to another country would sound great sometimes, no, we're going to stay here and keep fighting because you know what? We are making a difference on the street. Now, are we making a huge dent in the state of Texas? We are on the terror. When it comes to the networks, we're putting a big dent in them. But I can promise you that every time one case is turned over to law enforcement to continue, because we assist them with the intel they need, they don't have the manpower or the expertise to do it. And when we turn that over, there's 30 of them behind waiting for a lead investigator to take hold of it. So we don't have enough people that can do the job. Law enforcement needs help. So if anyone wants to sign up and look into private investigation in your state, please do it. Because at the end of the day, we need more boots on the ground or we're getting nowhere fast. Thank you for allowing me to speak again.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Yeah, no, we definitely need to maybe it's something that we mobilize communities, sort of like the old crime watch community things. Maybe it's something like that where we roll out some sort of program to teach people what to look for and, possibly recruit people who are interested in doing that kind of work. Because I think that we have the resources. We just need to empower and put them, put the right people in the right place. You're right. Yeah, we have a lot of work to do, just based upon what Ryan's been talking about, what you were saying, and in what Jennifer's saying, about the education system. I mean, it's rampant. So I want to welcome Dustin to the stage. How are you doing today?
Yo, yo, yo. Good to see everybody. Always great to see everybody who's like working so hard on these just absolutely most critical and important issues. Ryan, the film is absolutely next level, man. Congratulations and thank you for putting that together. This gets to like the inherent base level like problems that we have with corruption and society like more broadly in ways that like it obviously matters. And yet the inaction for so long has been so problematic. Now I'm cautiously optimistic. I've been telling everybody from the very beginning though that like our work didn't really begin until Trump got into office. Like we have this short window of opportunity. That House is controlled by Speaker No Johnson, and I have very little faith that he's going to do jack diddly. The Senate is technically in Republican control, but John Thune was a co-sponsor of the Restrict Act, and somebody, right, not just a co-sponsor, but like the co-sponsor with Mark Warner. So like again, but the Trump administration is looking very strong. And so I'd love to get the panel's reaction to Tom Homan. I think Tom Homan is one of the like real good guys here. And I feel confident that we will see some like overwhelming change. But then how, right? I think everybody has properly identified the NGOs as one of the critical linchpins to the sustainability of these evil fucking networks. And like, I'm sorry, I get worked up even thinking about like how just evil like the people who facilitate this stuff are. What can we do? Like, what is the call to action to get and cut out the legs from underneath these NGOs? Like what specific, like who do we need to put in the headlock and give a noogie and like bully until we get some kind of action? Like what is the call to action? That would be my question for the panel.
Can we sue the NGOs?
You know what? We already have enough evidence of enough crimes to literally hang every single CEO of every single one of these NGOs. We don't need any more laws. We don't need to change anything. We just need gosh damn Matt Gaetz as the gosh damn AG. We need an AG that's willing to go in there and fucking put heads on spikes. It's that simple. These people are trafficking children across the islands. I could rattle off 100,000 different charges: child endangerment, child abandonment, child recklessness. I mean, the list goes on. You are allowing children to be raped inside of your facilities. You are not following any protocols. You are not allowing congressional oversight. This system is so rotted to the core. Nothing needs to change. We just need the laws to be gosh damn enforced. It's so simple to fix this problem, but it seems that nobody wants to. That's why I have another documentary. Maybe Trafficked was behind a paywall, so that was the problem. But on 11/25, we're rolling out another one. If you guys thought Trafficked was good, from what I've seen of this one, it's going to blow Trafficked out of the water, and it's going to be releasing on Monday, and it's going to be free for everybody to see. So Monday night, if you guys aren't free, come join us. I'm going to try to begin putting together a big space. Maybe Jay Hans or somebody's going to help me put one together on Monday or Tuesday night. So hopefully this one goes. This is what we need. We need 30 million views on this fucker. We need an Elon Musk tweet. We need a Tucker Carlson retweet. We just need one of these big players to push this out. And I could only imagine what outrage would come if Traffic would have gotten 30 or 50 million views, maybe even 100 million. If Tucker Carlson's interviews can get 300 million views, I don't understand why a documentary on child trafficking can't. If everybody that watches it retweets it, and actually the watch time percentage is going to be astronomical. So I don't think the algorithm will be able to stop it. I don't think anybody will be able to stop it because the watch time percentage is going to be so vast. You know, people are talking about watching Traffic like 3 or 4 times. Oh my gosh, if people watch this one 3 or 4 times on X, oh boy, it's going to go mega viral.
So it sounds like that's a great call to action that everybody in here can do, right? Like supporting you and supporting these documentaries and supporting the people that are working in the industry to try and stop this is something that everyone can do. It doesn't take a lot of time. You really do make a difference when you share things out. It's so important. It doesn't matter how big or how small your account is. If you share it and you share it to your other social media accounts, when you put the link in though, put a post first and then put the link in a reply or in a comment on your post, because that way it doesn't get suppressed by the algorithms and it will allow for it to go further. Just a little tip there.
Kim, can I jump in real quick? Because, you know, Ryan
Sure.
was speaking about, Matt Gaetz resigning from that, running for the position of AG. It seems, you know, Pam Bondi is Trump's pick now. Pam Bondi ran as, I'm reading off of MJ Truth Ultra's post. Pam Bondi ran as Florida's AG with a big emphasis on stopping human trafficking of children and women. And I remember under her being AG, we did have a lot of sting operations going down in Florida. 2014, large human scale trafficking sting. 2017, 2016, just like several. I did post this in the bubble.
Pam Bondi's legit, but she's legit, but she's not as magnanimous as
I understand, but if she's running she ran for AG on that platform that she wants to stop that, this might be the person that we need to get all this stuff, as an AG that is passionate about that, right? And she's got a clean record. No, like anything, that anybody could really say anything about her. I think she'd be amazing, honestly, if that's her serious record and you look at it, all the sting operations as AG of Florida that she ran, this might be our person. Matt Gaetz might have been the decoy for the mainstream media and all those to focus on, and then he slides her right in. We're playing 5D chess here, so who knows?
Well, he's definitely trying some different things, that's for sure. It's still, a little bit disappointing, but all right, let's go to Kelly and then we'll go to Andrew and we'll go back to Shepard and then I see you, Jen.
I was just wondering, I saw at back messaging, Carlos said he was been trying to speak. Is he still in speaker row? I see him on my laptop, but I don't see him.
I just saw him a second ago. I was actually going to say hi to him.
Yeah, I brought him up.
Yeah, he said he's been trying to speak for, I don't know if his hand's not being seen or I don't see him now.
Oh no, Carlos, come back. Go ahead, Andrew. Yeah. We'll get Carlos back.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Nice to hear everyone. This illegal alien invasion, we've been covering it for a while. I told my mother and my wife 3 years ago, I said, listen, tell the kids they're not allowed to play at the park anymore. Tell the kids they're not allowed to ride around town anymore, because it's more than just children disappearing, coming over the border. There's children missing and disappearing all over that are American citizens also. And it begs you to wonder if these illegal aliens are taking, people around here also. But, as an American citizen, we sacrificed to the point where my children didn't go to the park. They didn't go around where they should be able to go because of the illegal invasion that is unfolding and has been unfolding. And, these nonprofits, Maura Healey, Mayor, we're out in Massachusetts. There's over 42,000 nonprofits in Massachusetts. Now, they're not all, involved in this illegal alien, windfall. That it's like the new COVID money sprinkling around everywhere. But there's tens of thousands of them. There's rainbow churches that have people in there, this bringing them in left and right. And they have backdoor programs to the DMV to get driver's licenses. if we're talking about harboring illegal aliens, I mean, what more can you do to harbor illegal aliens that set up a program to where when they get their driver's license, they can't even stand in line at the DMV to get a driver's license because they don't want the photo ops of a bunch of legal aliens sitting there requesting, you know, driver's licenses with their failed social security application, because that's all they need to get a driver's license. So they set up online processing. They're hiding this from the public right in front, like they're hiding, obviously hiding it right in front of everyone. Maura Healey and Mayor Wu, nobody knows where you know, the money went. Nobody knows where any of the money's going. They have it completely secret, basically. It took years just to figure out what hotels they're putting these people in. I mean, if you go down to Logan Airport and you follow the route to one of the major nonprofits, you're basically underground from Logan Airport through the entire city. You pop over a bridge in Chelsea, Mass, and there you go. Like, whether it's planned like that or not, I don't know, but you're literally underground bringing them in the entire time to where people wouldn't even see buses or anything else right from Logan Airport. Now, we went down and investigated for a little bit in Logan Airport, and it didn't take long to talk to a 20-year TSA veteran that says that there was 80 illegal aliens working for Logan Airport, and they just recently got let go. Now, you're talking about breaking federal law and crime in harboring illegal aliens, like Holman is saying, Tom Holman. What more can you do? You're letting the TSA hire these people right in Boston, right in Logan Airport, and it doesn't stop there. I mean, they all drive. If you spend time out some of these facilities, like in Deerfield, Massachusetts, at the old Days Inn, that they removed the name Days Inn off of it, they're all driving similar cars, isn't that? Do they just have the same taste, or is there dealerships involved and insurance companies? And the list goes on with all this Fed money and all this state money. Massachusetts is spending $1 billion now out of their budget, and it all comes down from, you know, a lot of it from the Fed. You go to the legal alien compound, they're getting fresh roofs on there. That's obviously harboring these people. Like Elon just brought, you know, posted about some of this recently. You have Nantucket, Mass. You have pedophiles getting arrested from ICE down there. Great Barrington, Massachusetts, which is a huge, one of the most liberal towns in Massachusetts. The ICE detainer got ignored from law enforcement, and the pedophile got released. These people, these politicians and these law enforcement need to be held accountable with jail time. If you review some of the federal laws that Tom Holman is putting forward, that he's telling like Mayor Wu to be careful, don't cross the line, which they already have, but it's a 3-year minimum up to a 10-year prison sentence. Some of these politicians need to be tried, and they need to go to jail if found guilty. And that's just how it goes, especially with, you know, even if it's a police chief, if you let the pedophile out of jail, why should I have to pay with my children, not let him go to the park? Because all of us are like well ahead of the curb. We're suffering. So these people, just like they need to go to jail. So I'll wrap it up there. I don't want to go on too much of a tirade, but it's time for these people to be held accountable. And I hope that Tom Holman is the person to do it. And I hope Trump's serious about getting these people out, because they're going to have to go. But I appreciate it. Thank you.
You know, Andrew,
Well, thank you.
Andrew, that U.S. code that you're talking about, I brought that up when these governors were offering money for people to house illegal aliens, making them criminals. You know, I was citing that code back then, and like to hear Tom Holman bringing it up now, it's just like, thank you. You know, these people got to be held accountable, and you are 100% correct.
Well, Adam, just to chime in one more time, and I'll make some room for new speaker. There's reports coming out that Maura Healey, the worst communist governor of Massachusetts ever, they're starting to spread these people out. They're aiding and abetting, and they're moving them from, I mean, let's say you go to Norfolk, Massachusetts. We went down there. That's the Bay State Correctional Facility. That's an actual prison. They put the people in there to house them. And then you have the other hotels. They're starting to disperse them, you know, allegedly or reportedly, in more rural areas.
Greg Abbott's guilty of this too, by facilitating the moving of these people to different states. 100%, same code.
Well, Well, 2024 was the year of the whistleblower, and I think that 2025 is going to be the year of prison sentences. What do you think, Carlos? Can you talk this time, Carlos?
Hello?
Hi, Carlos.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was me, but then it was also, I guess, the space glitching. But I'm in New York City right now on a job, and I just wasn't sure if it was my signal or not. But what was the question?
I was just saying that, don't you think that 2024 was the year of the whistleblower, and 2025 needs to be the year of prison sentences?
Oh yeah, definitely. When I first did my whistleblowing, I was so nervous to go against, the establishment. And then every time I would get like, oh, there's an IRS whistleblower, and then there's a whistleblower for the FEMA and all these. I'm like, yes, take the heat off the rest of us, please. But there were so many of them that I lost count, and I was like, wow, what a year. The situation in the government is so bad that there's so many people speaking out. But I think you asked a question earlier, like there's a couple things I wanted to get off, like share myself. And as someone, for those of you who don't know me, I worked in the NGO business for 2 decades, and I was in charge for 7 years. I moved children on the planes. And I think you asked a question earlier, like how can people be complicit in this? How can people be okay with what they're doing? And one thing that popped off like right away in my head was, well, when I was moving children for 2 administrations, we would fly so much that there was just unlimited air miles. Like on United Airlines, I had the highest status. I was Premier 1K. I would get to board before Group 1. And I'm not saying this is an excuse, I'm just speaking on like why people. I'm not approving of it or condoning it. I'm just sharing like why people look the other way. I had for 1 year's worth of flying around of delivering children on United Airlines, I had like 325,000 air miles. On American Airlines, I would have 400,000 air miles. On Delta Airlines, it was just always in the hundreds of thousands of air miles. And each time we would fly, we would get to keep all those miles. We'd get to keep the perks. On the Hilton hotels, I hit about 800,000 points in Hilton points. And for years, up until right now, I still get free rooms at Hilton whenever I want them because of all my points. So basically, when you escort children around the country, you're living a life that you normally wouldn't live. Like when you check into a hotel, they tell you, oh, well, thank you for being a platinum member. We're going to upgrade you from a single bed up into our king suite. And you walk in there and it's just a crazy room that would normally run like $1,000 a night. You're getting it for free for moving trafficking children across the country. And when after you're done delivering children, you go back home and you're like, oh, I got all these air miles. You can take your family out for vacation. And it's just, people look the other way because of the perks. And the other thing that these NGOs do is they hire young kids, young kids who don't have kids themselves, so they can't really relate to kids suffering. They don't see it the way a father or a mother would because they don't have kids themselves. So a lot of my coworkers, when I was moving children around, they were 18, 19, 20. It was their first job, fresh out of high school or in college. And they just didn't care that you were moving children and, oh, is the child hungry? They wouldn't do anything about it. Or am I dropping off the children to the wrong person? They just really wouldn't care. So people look the other way because of the perks and, the money. There was one week when I was working the Row Hotel, when I was the manager of the Row Hotel in New York City. I cleared 7,000 in 5 days for managing a hotel full of migrants. So, when you work for the NGOs, you're just living a life that you never thought you would live. And as far as seeing people in jail. I would love that. And I do think Trump's going to try his best. But there's just so many people around him that don't really have his best interests at heart. And I just don't trust all the people in DC. I mean, I myself, I know, and I'm probably going to get like, not say I would get hate. I'm just going to share one story here. I had spoken to Matt Gaetz's team about testifying for a really long time. Like, it was a drawn out process. It was like, let's have you on the phone, explain it to this person and explain it to the staff members for this representative. And it was just a back and forth where by the end of it, I felt really stupid because I tried to get some of my whistleblower friends to testify with me. And at the end of the day, Matt Gaetz let us down. And we had constant communication. It was so annoying because it was like, okay, today we're going to have a phone call. You're going to spend 2 hours on the phone. And then the next day, oh, we need another phone call with you. And it's another 2 hours. And then by the end of it, it's like, yeah, you guys are all going to testify. We really care about the kids. And nothing came of it. And I felt so stupid because I had such, Matt Gaetz has done some great work. When it came time to help the children, he didn't come through for us. And I've been close to testifying 3 different times. 2 of those times I read out my testimony. And I don't know if you guys are aware, or I'm pretty sure you all are, or for those of you who aren't, when you're going to testify in Congress, you have to write out your testimony. You have to let Democrats and Republicans see what you're going to say. And you have to write out about 8 pages of it. So it's a really long process. And I did it 2 times. I wrote my testimony 8 pages long and looked at it back and forth every day. And 2 different times canceled on the day before. One time I got canceled for Tim Ballard, and they had him on. They asked him to come on the day before the hearing, and they dropped me. And I'm not saying Tim Ballard doesn't do great work, because he does. Not just Sound of Freedom, but if anybody follows Tim Ballard on Instagram, he does great work with Aerial Recovery Group. It's a group of veterans that go door knocking and save kids in Mexico and South America. So they do amazing work. He's done amazing work besides Sound of Freedom. But it was just a gut punch to get passed on by him a day before, and then the second time, and then the third time with Matt Gaetz. And it's just gotten to the point where it's like,
why do you think that is, Carlos? Like, what do you think's going on there? Do you think that it's like the tape, or what do you think that is?
It's just the money. These people in Congress are all somehow, some way tied to the people who end up with these contracts. And I'm not saying Matt Gaetz is one of them, but somewhere down the road, he knows someone who is, I guess. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't benefit them, like, they won't, like, if it's, like, when I speak out against MBM Inc., because that was my employer when I moved children for the Biden administration and the Trump administration as well. But it wasn't so bad under the Trump administration. It was just a mess under the Biden team. But I guess someone who, the MBM Inc. company that I worked for, they have CIA ties, they have Secret Service ties, like the founders. They are former Secret Service agents, and they hold contracts with the FBI, with the CIA. So, DC, everybody's tied in together somehow. And that's what I think personally. I think it's just the money. And if you're singling out someone way too much, specifically like a company that I work for, someone's not going to like it, and someone's going to step in just the way they stepped in and stopped Matt Gaetz from becoming Attorney General. So it's too evil, it's too strong. And when people ask, like, what's the best thing we can do? The best thing we can do is just help whoever's doing projects, Shepherd's Watch, does great work. I mean, just help out the people who are dedicating their time to expose this. That's the best thing we can do.
And
Because people
talk
in
about it,
DC,
right? It's like we got to talk about it. I mean, that's the biggest thing
yeah,
is people need to understand exactly what is going on, because the more people that know about it, that the quicker we can handle it and just stop it. Because if they don't know, and if we make it easy for them to turn the other cheek and ignore, we can't ignore away our problems anymore. It just doesn't work.
oh,
And just so
definitely,
everybody,
and like just these these spaces are amazing. A while back, I shared with Dustin and with Jennifer and a few other people. Like I used to do these spaces at right after I blew the whistle, and these spaces is what ended up getting me a job with James O'Keefe, and I did some amazing work there that I'm so proud of. And then I was part of his movie that came out, and then from James O'Keefe, we're on. I'm no longer working there, but we are on good terms where he will call me and ask me like, "Hey, you want to take part of this job?" on a contractor basis. But from James O'Keefe, I've gone on to Heritage Foundation. I've gone on to I contract right now with Turning Point USA. The job I'm in New York City for is for Turning Point USA, and like I owe it all to these Twitter spaces. That's how word got out about me. And James was like, "I've heard of you, and people have been talking about you in those spaces." And then it just went from a job, and now I contract for like 4 different companies, and it's just I go.
sorry, that was me. I do it at
Can
least
you hear me?
Yeah, I could do it at least one time a space.
Oh, sorry. Oh, but what I was saying was it has led to all these jobs, and with Turning Point USA, I got to do some videos where I was part of the team where I went in and exposed that with a good friend of mine, Savannah, where I went in and exposed that there's these apartments where they're paid for 2 years. I got a migrant to admit that on camera, and that blew up. And like, I always, when people ask me like, how did you end up here? I'm like, oh, those Twitter spaces. I apologize for what I'm about to say, but I used to think Twitter spaces were so stupid. I was so against it. I was like, I don't want to do them. It's a waste of time. And now the Twitter spaces is what has led to me being a part of all these organizations that are exposing all this corruption. I mean, with James O'Keefe, the movie he did, Line in the Sand, James and I visited a Walmart. And this Walmart, we got the security guard to admit, yeah, we have migrant babies in here. It's no longer a Walmart. We have infants in there. We have 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, all the way up to 17. And the guy was like, the guy was telling us everything. And it's just, that's the best thing we can do is just help out people who are wanting to expose all this. Just sharing something. My buddy Muckraker and I, we went door knocking looking for the kids, and just sharing those type of videos when they come out. It's the best thing we can do. I love President Trump, but he has too many people that he can't really put his trust on. So I would say the best thing we can do is just help journalists, help organizations out like Shepherd's Watch with whatever you can, a retweet, donation, whatever it is. It does a lot. It really does.
Well, and we can't rely just on President Trump, right? Like we knew that going in. I mean, we got the win. Great. I'm so excited. There's a sense of relief for sure. But that just means the beginning of the work. And these Twitter spaces are so important because, I mean, we move the needle. People talk about these spaces. We influence the news. We definitely, Congress knows that we're here. And we've even had them say, what did Chip Roy say that one time, Dustin? Those fucking Twitter people or something like that. He was real mad at us. And that was when we
bullied by those Twitter people.
Was golden.
That's when we spent like the whole night making pink rhinos of Chip Roy. We bullied him. That's
I'm cracking up over here thinking about it.
but yeah, I mean, that's the power of it, right? Shame is the game, and these Twitter spaces allow for us to do that. I'm sorry, X spaces allow for us to do that. It allows for us to exercise our freedom of speech, may not have our freedom of reach, which is why it's important for everybody to repost the space. You just go down to the bottom right-hand corner, click on the bubble, and then click on the arrows going around in a square. It's free, but it does help. It is a recorded space so that people can go back and listen, and we really appreciate you doing that for us.
And if you want to comment in the purple pill, you look up top at where it says recording in the space. To the right of that, you'll see American Mission's community logo. You could click on that, request to join the community. I'll get you approved, and then you could comment and reply in the purple pill. Thank you.
I see Jay Hahn's been up here for a while. How you doing, Jay?
I'm good. Appreciate you having me here. I was just checking out your space and supporting, and this is an awesome space that, talking about some very important things. Carlos, he came in one of our spaces too and talked about some of these things and you're right. You don't hear about these issues. You don't hear these raw stories or the reality of the situation in anywhere else but these spaces. And so, us getting in here and talking about these things, and we'll have politicians in ours too. We'll have congressmen, congresswomen, future candidates and stuff like that. But the thing is like us, you're right. We are moving the needle, and we're getting people talking about these things, and we're becoming a force on here that's making the media and things like that obsolete. And we're getting the truth out in ways that people had never done before, because there's a lot of BS on Twitter, or there's a lot of BS on X. And but within X, you can find the truth. You can sift through and find the truth. And in the media, you really can't. You're gonna get like these bits and pieces, and it's 90% spin, and like you don't know. Like you would have to watch like 10 different news networks in order to kind of get the truth. Whereas on here, you can talk to real life people that are doing things, and spaces are the equalizer. You can talk to somebody who lives in a trailer park that's on scene, or, you can talk to a billionaire or whatever. It's the equalizer. It puts us all on an equal space, playing field. And it's something unique, and it's not for monetization. It's a labor of love for the space hosts and for us to organize on here. It's not for money, for sure. We don't make any money. I actually lose money by being in here. But the thing is the message is the most important thing to get out. And you see my girl down there, Kimmy. She's my partner in crime. But yeah, I appreciate y'all having me up here, and this awesome space.
Thanks, Jay. And you're so right. I mean, the biggest thing is that, we see the future of spaces to be, if you're a candidate and you really want to be elected, we're going to require that you come into these spaces, that you put forth what your plan is, so that you're accountable, that you come back when you do get into office. And if you don't, you won't get back into office. So we have the power to do that. Just like, we have the power to put the government on the blockchain. May take us a little bit of time, but now that we know we can do it, and now that we know that we have to stay on top of these guys because clearly they need a babysitter, I think that we've got a good path forward, and we just got to make sure that we stay on top of them at all times.
Yeah, you're right. And the other thing too is, like, this is a little bit off topic, but it's about holding politicians accountable. Like, for instance, they got politicians running for Matt Gaetz' seat. There's a few of them that have come online or whatever. So what do? Every time they're in a space, I put Mary Talley Bowden's pledge to them. I say, will you sign this pledge saying that you're gonna support medical freedom? You know why? Because that's a way for us to hold them accountable. Because if they won't sign it, they know it looks bad and they'll never get elected. And the other part is once they sign it, now we can hold them accountable for their actions once they get in office. That's another piece. So that's pretty powerful, because there's no way that I would ever have that connection to them before we were doing these spaces, and they want to come in these spaces to get name recognition. They want to get their name out there to get into office. But the other part is like I said, we can hold them accountable for their actions. So it's pretty powerful, like you said.
Appreciate you. Yeah, no, absolutely. Hi, Kimmy. I see you came up here. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you guys? Thanks so much for holding this space. This is so important. And I agree with everything that Jay said. If it weren't for spaces and Twitter, we would know nothing about what's going on with child trafficking. I mean, literally, until I came onto X a couple of years ago, I had no idea how bad it was. And that's why I love spaces. That's why I consider X, it's my news. That's where I get my news. And there's so many wonderful people, boots on the ground. Ryan, the last time we had him in a space, he was actually rescuing a child at the border, a little girl that was being child trafficked. It was pretty amazing. And he still kept talking, and he sent me a picture. It's like, oh my gosh, very brave. You hear from these people, and I had no clue. And that's why that's why Jay and I we do our spaces, 3 or 4 times a week, and reaching just the fact that we can reach people and have conversations about these things. Some may not have any idea about a lot of things that are going on with our country. Like a lot of people don't even know who Pam Bondi is. I've been seeing that around tonight, which is crazy. And it's because they just have been uninformed, and anyway, I just wanted to say, I agree with you, Jay. I agree with you, Kimberly, on all the topics. So thank you so much for holding this space, guys. Greatly appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate what you guys are doing. I pop into your spaces all the time, and again, it's just so important that we get this information out to people, and in a way that is supportive, compassionate, right? I mean, it's not an easy thing, and I know I didn't know anything about it until a couple of years ago when I got on spaces and actually was in a space with Carlos and Tara Rodas, and like them telling their stories, it just stuck with me, and I was like, this is unbelievable. And when I would try to tell people in my normal life, let's say, when I would start, spitting out these facts, like I would kind of stop myself, because the look on their faces was like, if what you're saying is true, it's horrible, and you sound like a crazy person, so it's learning not only about what's going on, but also how to speak to it in a way that people can actually absorb it. Because if you just vomit it at them, they shut down, and you can tell when the look comes over their face, and you don't have them anymore. So I think that is that's something that's been really valuable for me, in learning how to speak about all of these different things. I mean, I didn't know how to read a bill. I mean, I knew the process of legislation, but I didn't understand the ins and outs of it. I didn't understand the ins and outs of the speaker race until Dustin, got us all hyped up and involved with Kevin McCarthy. And I mean, it was like a rally. So I think that these spaces allow for us to understand our government where we have not been taught it. We were not educated properly. We don't understand the apparatus of the parties as a society as a whole. And that's why we have been on our back foot this whole time, is because we didn't have the tools, we didn't have the education in order to say, wait a minute, we are consenting to be governed. And right now, you don't have our consent. So that's what that to me is the biggest value in this, is being able to learn exactly what our powers are. And now that we've got President Trump in there, maybe we've got some wiggle room to actually exercise our powers and have someone who's going to listen to us. And I think a lot of his cabinet is great. Are there still people around him that may not be, have his best interest at heart? Maybe, but I mean, we've got what we got, and we got to work with what we got.
We got some hands up. Kim, I believe RR Hicks.
Hi, RR.
Hey guys, Kimmy, thank you again for forwarding this. Guy, you make such great contacts. Thanks for everything this group is doing. My church was really involved in trying to disrupt the sex trafficking trade. So I have seen some really bad, scary things, but I truly believe these communication channels are beginning to overcome the evil. So Carlos, thank you for what you're doing. Everybody that is putting this together, kudos to you guys. From a 70-year-old perspective, I saw something when Trump did the Joe Rogan interview, and he did a lot of the interviews with TikTok influencers. The method of getting information out to the American people is changing. No longer do we have the stupid network gatekeepers that keep the sheep blind and dumb, right? So you guys are doing God's work, and you know I'm not saying that facetiously. We've never had that ability in America, and I'll tell you one place that's really showing up, and that is the discussion about the approvals for Trump's nominees. I had a chance to talk to Josh Hawley this last weekend, and he said they just got blasted when they were voting for the Senate leadership. And he said he's never seen anything like it, but the politicians now are taking this as polling, right? Because they're getting honest feedback. And he says it's making some of them really wake up to the fact that they're vulnerable, right? We have some rhinos that are coming up for re-election in 2 years. And so not only do we have to focus on primarying them, but we have to get good people to primary them. And I see this tool called Spaces as a vehicle to vet these people so that the press can't label them as extremists and wackos and all that kind of stuff, and we start backfilling all of these politicians with people that really care about us. Now, what I wanted to ask is, Carlos, from the concept of actually working with government, assuming that Trump gets good people in place and Elon and Vivek get rid of the bad people and all of that stuff, if we as citizens want to get involved in this process from a governmental standpoint, who are the entities that are involved in driving the not only halting the sex trafficking, but then finding the kids?
Carlos, are you there? Who is finding the children? I think Ryan probably would be able to answer that one for sure.
Well, regarding like who's finding the children, is that what you said?
Yeah, who if we're going to engage with government, who are some of the entities we should be looking to engage with?
Well, first off, like in regards to finding the children, it all goes back to like how we were saying these spaces are important. So I want to share a little bit more. So as someone who was part of the system back then, there was no job positions, none that involved knocking on kids' doors. And now companies like Southwest Key Programs, who's a terrible NGO, terrible, they're really evil. But now, from being out there, I come to find out that now Southwest Key Program actually hires people who go door knocking and they check up on the addresses where kids were delivered. So they're still not doing it the right way. They're still doing a lot of illegal stuff that they shouldn't be doing. But at least we have positions that get hired on to do, which involve going and knocking on doors and checking on these kids. So there is some change slowly happening because and delivering children, there was no one knocking on the door. Now it's not should be, and do a lot better job about it. Keep putting pressure on them, whoever asked that. And as far as finding the children, my buddy and Muckraker and he runs a great website. We actually door knocked where a lot of these went to, and we found out that a lot of these kids are okay. They went through terrible stuff. I door knocked with my buddy with a girl in North Carolina who went through some terrible things when she first got here. She got kicked out by her sponsor after 1 week of being home. And then she ended up getting pregnant by a 30-year-old who she worked with at a restaurant. And she went through a lot of bad things. But at the end of the conversation, she told us she's 16 now. She was 14 when she was working, 14, 15, when she was working at the restaurant. And she has a baby, an infant. And she says, thank God I'm okay now, but I would have appreciated if the government came looking for me when my sponsor kicked me out the first week I was here. So these kids are out there. It's just we have to put some effort in going and finding them. If you go to my buddy's page, Muckraker, you can see the video and his highlights. We door knocked across 15, 16 different states. And a lot of these kids went through a lot of abuse when they first got here. But they all repeated the same thing, was that we're fine now. We just wish someone had come looking for us early on, because there was a lot of stories of, well, I was homeless. I was living in a car at 14 for 2 weeks. I lived inside a car in Nashville, Tennessee during the winter. And there was a lot of stories from girls where they were telling us, I lived out on the streets for a month when I was 16. Another person who was 13 was sharing with us that they were forced to live in a place with nothing but men, and they were a teenage girl when that happened. And these kids are there. It's just we have to actually go look for them and check up on them. But no one's doing it. So I don't know how I would answer your question, is because literally in the government, no one's looking for them. My buddy and I, Muckraker, we interviewed about 40, 50 kids, and they were all pretty much there. And it was just they're neglected. And over again, we were told no one has called, no one has checked up on us. You guys are the first ones who have checked up on us. In 2 years, we've never heard from anybody. And the kids are just repeating the same things over and over again. It's just that send someone, at least a phone call. So I don't know how to answer your question because there's no one looking for them. And it just goes back to putting pressure on them. They really hate. Here's the other thing too, is when I spoke to Matt Gaetz's team and I spoke to other teams in DC, believe it or not, a lot of these staffers, a lot of these people in Congress, they're like, wow, we didn't know that was working out that way. We didn't know that's run that way. And it was so frustrating for me and for my buddy Aaron. He has the mic. He's a speaker right now, but he has his hand up. Maybe he can share a little bit more. But I know he can share a bit more. It was so frustrating because we heard from more than one staffer in DC and from more than one politician where they were constantly saying, oh, we didn't know about that, or we didn't know about this. And it's like, how do you not know? This is your job. What are you guys doing in DC that you're not aware that this is how the kids program is being ran? Like, how do you guys not know? What did we pay you for? But it was a constant thing of like, oh, we didn't know that. Oh, thank you for filling us in on that. And I'm going to read to you guys the text that I got from a staffer. I can't say who it's from and where office, but this is what we deal with in DC. I got a message from someone who says, well, Carlos, please keep me posted on your career trajectory. My role is moving. I want you to know how much I appreciate you for talking to me at the beginning of all this and helping me understand what was happening. I wouldn't have understood any of it without you. And it goes back to, how can you say that? Because this is your guys' job in DC. Like, what are you guys doing? Are your heads up your asses? Like, what are we paying you for? But yeah, that's what I wanted to share.
So the only thing then that I would follow up, and this may go beyond you, Carlos, but is anybody aware of any entities that are trying to put together PSAs, public service announcements, because those are free to put on public airways, that might promote a solution to these kids?
No, hey, I'm breaking in here. No, the solution to finding the children who are getting trafficked and raped and exploited is not a public discussion. It is being handled, and it is not a public discussion.
Are you saying it shouldn't be a public discussion, or it's not?
Absolutely, it should not be a public discussion, and it is not going to be a public discussion.
Really? Why?
This is a recorded space on the internet. We're not going to tell the bad guys how we're going to go find the kids. Not going to happen.
Huh. Okay.
No, we got it, and that makes sense. But finding out organizations where we can go and help with that, I think is a good thing for us to discuss.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes,
Shepherd's Watch is a
agree.
great one. Go support them. Volunteer, do your thing.
And then there's vets for kids too, right? Aren't they doing a lot of work on the border?
Yep, America's Future, Shepherd's Watch are two that I know for sure. They're good people. They do their thing, et cetera, et cetera. But when it comes to actually getting a child out of a situation, yeah, those are two different conversations. We do not explain how that happens, who does it, tradecraft, etc.
That makes total sense. Completely agree. It's nice to see you, Aaron.
You too, and thank you for the mic.
Hi, Tara. It's nice to see you as well. Tara is when Tara spoke and I heard her story, that was my first exposure to what was going on. And then of course I've followed you, through all the hearings and through the documentaries that you've been a part of. You've just been such an inspiration, and I really appreciate everything that you've done.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's incredible to see my wonderful friends on here, and I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for Aaron Stevenson, because he was the first DHS whistleblower to expose, that criminal cartels were getting the kids. And that was just a shocking revelation. And Carlos, I'll never forget the day I saw his In the Shadows interview with Savannah Hernandez stating that he was transporting the kids. And I'm like, I knew it. So, it's just a really sad thing. And what's to me is so tragic is that this program has existed for a decade. They know they've been trafficking kids for a decade. That's 10 years of little lives lost, children abused, neglected, working in slaughterhouses, overnight shifts, terrible physical, sexual abuse for a decade. And I didn't know it until 2021. And in 2021, I thought, well, maybe this is 50 or 60 kids. By the time Deb White, Myra Moreno, and I, who were at the Pomona Fairplex, we'd processed over 8,300 children in less than 6 months. We could see other sites that some of these traffickers were not just sponsoring from us, but from other sites. We thought, wow, maybe this is 1,000 children. And then we see Hannah Dreyer's report, and it's 85,000 children they can't find. And then thanks to the Honorable Joseph Kafari, DHS OIG reveals in August that it's 320,000 children that are unaccounted for. And I just have to say, why has no one gone after the children? Why? It is a mystery to me that when they found out kids were gone, they didn't do something. They didn't do something in the beginning. They didn't do something when the crisis was at 85,000. They didn't do anything, and the crisis is now at 320,000 and counting. So thank you guys for all being here. I really appreciate you all. And, you know, we, with this new administration, a strong executive, I do believe is going to rescue children and prosecute traffickers and dismantle the trafficking infrastructure that's allowing this to happen. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Tara. I really appreciate it. And guys, we're probably going to be shutting down here in about 5-6 minutes. So I just want to, I got a couple people requesting, so I'm going to bring them up. And then we can get some last thoughts. And please repost the space, get involved. Some of the great organizations that were discussed here tonight. And we definitely need to stay on top of this subject. This is something that cannot continue. We did have up in the nest, and it's down in the chat. We have a petition. It takes less than 30 seconds to sign, and it's anonymous. It's through change.org, so you will not get a bunch of spam. But it basically says, we do not consent to the government trafficking children, and we certainly do not consent to the government using taxpayer dollars to traffic children. This is absolutely insane that we even have to put a petition out like this. It's been out for about a month, and we have just over 1,000 signatures. And so we would like to see more signatures on this petition because we need to bring light to this issue, and it's got to be solved. There is no excuse for this to continue with the new administration. This is like got to be priority number one. All right. So I want to thank everybody for coming. Really appreciate everybody. Love.
Hey.
A good life. Do you want to speak?
I know you're heading out and shutting this down, but I just wanted to step in really quick. And if I may, I don't want to give a complete background with myself. I just want to step in and just let everyone here know who's an advocate in this disturbing fight with the child trafficking system. It's global. It's not just America, but a friend of mine, dear friend of mine, who actually was one of the founding people many years ago, introduced me into child advocacy law. And she is a strong fighter and warrior. She's actually in process to sorry, my phone's beeping here, to get in with the administration with Robert Kennedy. So I'm going to be she did a space with me the other night, and she spoke very openly on this subject. And worse than I think anyone can ever imagine. She's just opened an X account. It's at Connie Reguli. We're going to post with a link to vote her in to get into the administration. I think she'll be one of the key people. She has almost 30 years background as an attorney, both nationally and globally, against this very issue in not just trafficking realm, but also with child services. So if you guys are okay with that, I might actually put it in the comments.
Oh, I think we lost you. There we go. Yeah, absolutely. You can put it in the chat. If you have to join the community,
Sure.
Which at the top is American Mission. You just click on that and you can join, and then you can put anything you want in the comments. We're trying out communities. Elon has done some work in the community space now that you can do spaces within the community, and there's it helps with getting you out of your typical silos. So I highly encourage everyone to interact with the communities that are out there. Join the ones that you see with, people that you know, or if they're for a cause, because the communities will actually link up and help boost each other's communities. So you're going to get rewarded for working together. And I think it's a brilliant plan that everybody wins. Rising tide lifts all boats. So I'm really excited about this new opportunity within X. So we're still trying it out. It does take a little bit of getting used to, but I think that overall it's going to be super great.
All requests are approved. So you can go ahead and post. You're welcome to.
I'll post it hopefully within the next hour on my direct account, Connie's link to vote for her. And
well, great. Thank you. Yeah, no, I think it's really exciting. I love the fact that there's policies for the people and there's also nominees for the people. Like we're actually able to provide input into this administration. And I think that's really exciting. And, why wouldn't they tap into the American people? We're very resilient. And if we know what's going on, we can solve the problems. You just got to tell us what's going on. Right, Jennifer?
Me, Jennifer? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I know you're ending out here, and so I'm gonna go all the way back to what Dustin was asking. And so I just wanted to give a little context. He had asked like, who do we go after? Who do we, where do we put focus on to stop some of this? So I wanted to give some context there, but I wanted to, first of all, it's been quite a few speakers ago, kind of was indicating that, there's nothing we can do at the government level. We have to focus on our, local and just organizations that are doing well, which I totally agree with, and Kirsch's Habit is one of them. But what I would say is that we, the people, have power. I think it has been proven in this last election that we can make things happen. We can move things. But the truth is that Trump winning office was a battle won. And I truly believe it's going to get worse before it gets better. And I know that sounds kind of despairing, but it's really not. What it means is that we won this battle, but now we have to take our civic duty, as the people. And I know individually, there's a lot of us in here that are doing everything we can, but just as a general message, we have to push forward, because no one person, no politician, no one person can make America great again. It is going to take all of us, and we have to support what we like. We have to fight against what we don't like. We have to, apply pressure when it's necessary. We have to hold accountable people that need to be held accountable. And so here's a couple things that I just want to mention, and I put in the purple pill. Chris Rufo, who does amazing work, had just exposed, and I put his article in the purple pill about the grants and contracts that are coming out of our government. In 2019, the grants and contracts that were focused on DEI, or I call it diversity, inclusion, equity, which is really this kind of it is a monster of a problem that we have now in our systems. But in 2019, there was $29 million awarded from our government to DEI grants and contracts. This last year in 2023, it was over $1 billion. We have to focus on grants. Those grants are going to these NGOs that we are all fighting. And so that is one thing that we all need to do. The grants are, here's a couple of departments that are in control of that: the Department of Homeland Security, Health Resources and Services Administration, Department of Energy, National Endowment for the Arts. But what I really suggest for people to do is follow grants.gov and watch these grants, read through them, and raise awareness on them, and then hold accountable the department that is responsible for pushing them out. Another thing that we need to focus on is USAID, which is Foreign Assistance Aid. and it is authorized. It's a federal bill that was authorized by Congress, but it operates under the guidance of the President, Secretary of State, and National Security Council. So it is our duty, we the people, to bring awareness and hold accountable the people that are pushing money into these NGOs that are responsible for harming our country and hurting our children and trafficking children. And so we have to start focusing in on that. And then finally, I'm almost finished here. But look, like I said, we have to do our civic duty, and we must apply heat like never before. Please do not think just because Trump won office that our job is over. I would argue that our job is even bigger now because we have a responsibility, and we aren't promised anything in this world, but we do have 4 years to apply pressure and have some leverage in the government, in this insane government that we are under right now. And that is what we have to do. And I'm going to give a little bit of love to American Mission because they are just amazing. You know, with Courage is a Habit, we fought a transgender trafficking bill. Ultimately, it didn't go our way, but if it was not for American Mission, we would not have been able to get it on the map and get the national coverage that we needed without American Mission and Dustin and Kim and Kelly and Adam and everybody that's involved. And so, you know, we have to, the spaces on X are very, very powerful. And everybody has, you know, a community as far as a space that you go into often. And, you know, I know Kimmy was up here earlier. She has a community that she does spaces. Everybody has these communities. But when it comes to these big issues, coalescing together and bringing our voices forward while we have X and while we can still say mostly what we want. I know it's not perfect on X, but what we want, we have to take advantage of this. We have a weekly live stream that we call It Takes One Person. And it takes one person because of people like Dustin and Jen. I have so much respect for what they have done and how they have stood strong. There's so many people in here. But Tara, Rodas, I mean, seriously, Aaron, so many people that have stood up. It took one person. They decided as individuals to stand up and do something, and look at the butterfly effect that they have been able to have. It's true. It takes one person, and I hope everybody becomes that one person, because you will be able to raise the roof. I promise you, it's worth it. Have the courage to do it. And then finally, I will just say one other thing that we should recognize. I'm not sure. I have no way of, I don't know if this is true, but I did see a post that said that Trump was going to start bringing big podcasters and independent journalists into the White House press. I hope that is true. And if that is true, that gives us another outlet and apply pressure and use our voices, our collective voices, to bring attention to these issues that have to be brought. So I love American Mission. I appreciate everything and everyone that's doing anything, but just everyone that is doing something. So just stand strong and do not let up, because we won a battle, but we have not won this war. So thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate you. And what Courage is a Habit is doing is unbelievable. I mean, I've learned so much from you and Alvin. It's truly amazing, and really appreciate everything that you're doing. Visk, how are you doing tonight? Well, I think that I look forward to speaking with you, and we definitely need to hook up and use the resources that you have to educate everybody for sure. And I think that we really do. We have the power to do this. We just need to make sure that we've got everybody focused on what we need to do. Oh, and it's the United States of blackmail. I mean, so many of these people have these huge blackmail things hanging over their heads, or their families have been threatened. I mean, it's one thing after another as far as the debauchery and the manipulation that has gone on in our government. From your lips to God's ears. I really appreciate you, and thank you everybody, and thanks for all the speakers. Adam, thanks for hosting. Appreciate you doing that for me. And hopefully we will see everyone again. Repost the space one more time, just so that we've got it, and you can share it out and more people can see it. Appreciate you guys.
I'm going to take you on a journey that's going to prove that Joe Biden and his administration are traitors and they have committed treason against America. only have one question for you. But before I ask that question, I want to take you back in time. We're going to transport everyone back to January 19th, 2021, the day before Joe Biden takes office. And I'm going to stand before you, and I'm going to say I came from the future 4 years from now, and I'm going to tell you what this man's going to do.
Your government planned to bring in another 800,000 Haitian illegal immigrants.
Every immigration policy Donald J. Trump has put into effect. 4 years from now, I'm going to take you on a journey that's going to prove that Joe Biden and his administration are traitors and they have committed treason against America. I only have one question for you. But before I ask that question, I want to take you back in time. We're going to transport everyone back to January 19th, 2021, the day before Joe Biden takes office. And I'm going to stand before you, and I'm going to say I came from the future 4 years from now, and I'm going to tell you what this man's going to do. First day in office, he is going to sign 94 executive orders to eviscerate effect. He will take a border that was the most secure border in American history and turn it on its head. Within 4 years, Joe Biden will have arrested over 12 million people. 250,000 of them will be special interest aliens, which in other words, in layman's terms, terrorists. They will be arrested and released. Since the time he's become president in the 4 years, Joe Biden's created the world's largest child sex trafficking organization in modern history. He will have arrested and released over 500,000 unaccompanied alien children called UACs. Their ages are from infancy to 17 years old. They just released them to a nation that is the #1 consumer of child pornography. Connect the dots. Our government is destroying America from within. I will not stand by and allow it to happen. That's why I'm going to go to across the nation, and I'm going to show you the manifestation of this treason. You're going to see crime that you can't even fathom. You're going to see a degradation of the social benefits and welfare for American citizens being ripped from them and given to illegal aliens. You're going to see cities like Chicago, New York, Boston, Philadelphia, and you're going to see them divert tens of millions of dollars. In New York City, they're going to divert almost $12 billion for illegal aliens. The city of Chicago is brought to its knees. Social welfare, murder, crime, you can imagine hundreds of millions of dollars for illegal aliens, and I don't care about my residents. They can all pound sand. We are living in a world where our government hates us, and I am going to go on a journey, and I am going to prove it to you. And the question I have after all of this has been done, if everything I tell you is the truth, and it is, do you call Joe Biden a patriot or a traitor?
That is a death sentence. The second that child is turned over to DHS now, it is a death sentence for that child. The way that this system has been created internally. All the cartels now have to do is bring the child to that border wall. And if CCTV videos, these cartels, they reach over like they're at a frat party, watch the child fall, and they're done. The cartels go, they got their money because that child has a phone number stapled on his shirt. And I'm sure you've seen that. I've seen you document it. And then once Border Patrol sees it, for the cartels, they're taking that number off that child and putting it into a system. So when that child gets to HHS, they're going to reunify that child with the buyer. And once that child goes in, there is a 1% chance the child will ever be seen with a whistle. You see it every day and you say nothing and you continue to collect a paycheck. The least you could do is have the fucking balls to come out and put it on paper and document it. And if they fire you, so fucking what? When Trump comes in, I want every single fucking Border Patrol agent. I want every fucking penny they've ever earned. I want every penny that they've ever fucking spent for the last 4 years. Like your documentary with James was spot on. You guys were walking up and basically delivering somebody. The Border Patrol agents weren't getting out. Like you just said, they were mad at you for rescuing a child. Were they mad because they had to do some work, or were they mad because you fucked up their delivery?
151 people on the FBI's terror watch list have been arrested by Border Patrol agents while they were crossing illegally here at our southern border.
Special interest aliens are individuals with direct ties to terrorists or cartel organizations, in which, by the way, we consciously released 85,000 of these dudes in 2023.
More than 13,000 illegal immigrants convicted of murder have been caught at the border and then released into the United States.
Do you know how many soldiers we had at peak in the Iraq war, boots on the ground?
No.
Take a guess.
10,000.
175,000. So if you're taking 10,000 soldiers a day, I don't call them migrants anymore or illegal immigrants. I call them mercenaries. These men are paid. They're coming over like a military. They're mercenaries. 170. You just told me that 85,000 special interest. These are terrorists.
Yes.
That were released into our country. That is half of our standing gosh damn army.
Yeah, 85,000 of them came in and were consciously released by this administration to go freely into the country.
In every state, in every city, in every town across America for the most part.
We have sleeper cells without a doubt. And they're armed. It's only a matter of time. Radical countries that hate our countries are coming into our country. And their whole purpose, their whole goal is the takeover of the West. That is their primary purpose. While I was out documenting in Lukeville, Arizona, a Guatemalan migrant woman who I began to speak to, she then goes on to tell me coyotes on the Mexican side refer to these mercenaries. They refer to them like más soldados, bring more soldiers. These individuals that are coming in don't just get a cool nickname from the cartel like that.
Now imagine what these kids have been through. This nightmare that they've been living for the last 6 months. And they walk and they're in this border wall with a 30-foot border wall next to them, cartels behind them. And she looked like she was walking in barefoot.